Chapter 1480. Shi Shang knew how scary Seventh Prince could be when he got jealous. She glanced at her black clothes and touched them. She was wearing black clothes, so she didn't need to color them again. Yan Qiu pulled her up from the table shyly. You seduced me first. Shi Shang. Who seduced you? You were the one who kissed me first. Shi Shang tugged at his messy clothes. The table was also in a mess. This idiot had suddenly kissed her just now, and the ink on the table had spilled. That was the situation now. Was it a surprise? Was it a surprise? What a surprise! Ahem. Let's go back and change. Yan Qiu was afraid that Shi Shang would fly into a rage, so she quickly brought her out of the pavilion. The Big Dipper floated lazily on the surface of the lake with its belly facing upwards. Yan Qiu carried Shi Shang and stepped on the Big Dipper's belly to land safely on the shore. What are they doing? Shi Shang turned to look at the Big Dipper. He had never seen them like this before. Did ancient crocodiles have different skills from modern crocodiles? They are basking in the sun, Yan Qiu replied. Aren't they cute? Shi Shang. I don't agree with your aesthetic standards. Shi Shang's back was stained with ink and he felt very uncomfortable. He didn't have time to argue with Yan Qiu about whether the Big Dipper was cute or not. Yan Qiu didn't want Shi Shang to do anything shady with Little Black Face, but Shi Shang pestered her for a long time. In the end, Yan Qiu gave in and agreed to do something shady with him. Seeing that Shi Shang had brought Yan Qiu along, Little Black Face complained. Why did he bring her along if they weren't going to do something good? However, Yan Qiu's aura was too strong, so Little Black Face could only swallow his complaints. Heroine, are we just going in like this? Little Black Face saw that Shi Shang was about to climb over the wall, so he called out to her softly. Shi Shang rolled his eyes. What else? Do we still need to send an invitation saying that we're here to pay a visit? That's not it, heroine. Recently, the 9th Prince's residence has been heavily guarded. If we were to enter like this, I'm afraid that before we even find Princess Ning Huan's residence, we'll be discovered. Because of the problem of thieves, the 9th Prince's residence had already been raised to the highest level of security. If it weren't for the lack of manpower, they would probably have a sentry every 3 steps and a guard every 5 steps. So be it. Shi Shang jumped onto the wall and disappeared from Little Black Face's sight in the blink of an eye. If it wasn't for the fact that she needed help from the people of this world, she wouldn't have brought along this chatterbox. Yan Qiu followed closely behind Shi Shang. Little Black Face gritted his teeth and followed in with his men. Shi Shang was killing the guards at the front. Her speed made Little Black Face swallow his saliva. This heroine was so awesome. Your Highness, why aren't you helping the heroine? Little Black Face and Yan Qiu followed behind and were fine. Little Black Face could not help but say, it's so tough for the heroine to kill alone. Yan Qiu glanced at him. She thinks it's dirty. Do you find it dirty? What does it have to do with him not helping the heroine if she thinks it's dirty? Little Black Face was a little scared when Yan Qiu resumed his cold and aloof manner. He felt that Yan Qiu was going to kill him at any time, so he did not dare to speak to him. The 9th Prince's residence was not very big. It was not even half the size of the 7th Prince's residence. It was not difficult to find someone here. Shi Shang killed the last guard and ordered Little Black Face to block the rear. Then he walked to the front of the room and knocked on the door. If he barged in at this time and saw something indescribable, it would hurt his eyes. Wouldn't it be even scarier if you knocked on the door? Have you ever seen a murderer who killed his way into his own house and knocked on the door? Who is it? A low and hoarse voice came from the room. It's me. The room was silent for a while. Then Shi Shang added, your ancestor. No one opened the door for a long time. Shi Shang knocked twice. At this moment, the door was pulled open by a strong wind. Then, a cold light flashed and a dense number of thin needles shot out from the door. Shi Shang quickly retreated to Yan Qiu's side and blocked the thin needles with his iron sword. Ding ding dang dang, the thin needles were shot with great force. They hit the iron sword and made a series of clanging sounds. The thin needles disappeared and a piece of silk flew out. It wrapped around the iron sword and pulled it into the room. Sher Shang exerted force with his fingers and the iron sword was flipped to the side. The silk that wrapped around the iron sword was shattered and fell from the air, covering the floor with red silk. "Do you think you can take Ai's sword?" Sher Shang snorted and swung the iron sword at the door. The door was shattered and the whole room was exposed. Yen Luan and Ning Huan were both there and their clothes were disheveled. It was obvious what they were doing just now. She knew that knocking on the door was the right thing to do. "Hong Jin." Yen Luan guessed that it was her when she heard her voice. But now that she saw her, she couldn't help but shout. Sher Shang's eyes curved and he replied calmly, "Yes." Ning Huan pulled Yen Luan and hinted her not to be impulsive. "Seventh Prince, why did you bring your men to His Highness's residence in the middle of the night?" "I don't know." She asked him if he was coming and he came. He really didn't know why she was here. The couple opposite them was strangely speechless. "He's here to watch the show. The focus is not on him. Look at me." Sher Shang waved his iron sword. "I'm so big. Can't you see me?" Yen Luan had a bad premonition. "Hong Jin, what do you want to do? You sent people to kill him. Do you think I will just let it go?" Sher Shang seemed to have remembered something. "Yes, there's also the matter of buying my head. My head is only worth 20,000 taels. Who are you looking down on? I even offered you 50,000 taels. Host, is your focus only on the 20,000 taels? All right, don't talk nonsense. Come, whoever wins will live." Sher Shang rolled up his sleeves. "Don't say that I'm bullying you. Both of you, come at me together." Ning Huan and Yen Luan looked at each other. She had made up her mind to kill them today. She had to make a move. Take the opportunity to snatch her sword. Ning Huan whispered in Yen Luan's ear. Then she suddenly rushed towards Sher Shang. Yen Luan's gaze fell on Sher Shang's sword. That sword was her trump card. What if she didn't have that sword? A fire rose in her heart. She had seen the power of that sword. If she could get her hands on it, that woman wouldn't be a threat. Ning Huan blocked Sher Shang's line of sight, giving Yen Luan a chance to make a move. The two of them were the male and female leads, so they had a tacit understanding. When Sher Shang turned sideways, Yen Luan immediately made her move. Her target was very clear. She went straight for the iron sword. Sher Shang glanced at her from the corner of his eye. He just sneered. He suddenly let go of the iron sword and fought with Ning Huan barehanded. Ning Huan was surprised by Sher Shang's strength. The iron sword wasn't in her hand, but her attack was faster than before. Her moves were almost invisible. On Yen Luan's side, after Sher Shang let go of the iron sword, it didn't fall to the ground. It just stood there in the air. The sword slowly rotated. A red light flashed as it rotated. This sword could actually move by itself. Chapter 1481. Buzz. The iron sword's buzzing sound seemed to be covered by a layer of transparent glass. It was a little low and deep. It was emitting a cold air, making it difficult for people to get close to it. Yen Luan looked at the iron sword in front of her, but she did not dare to reach out her hand. It was as if her hand would be frozen if she did. Yen Luan's eyes gradually turned red. She was telling herself that even if it was placed in front of her, she did not have the courage and strength to take it. Damn it! Yen Luan's heart was filled with anger. She looked at the person who was fighting with Ning Huan not far away. She gritted her teeth and suddenly reached out her hand to grab the iron sword's hilt. The buzzing sound of the iron sword suddenly stopped. The coldness in the air also receded like the tide. Yen Luan was surprised. Was it that easy? She looked at the iron sword in her hand. The sword was covered with simple patterns. A red line ran through the middle of the sword. It was faintly shining with red light. It gave people a very uncomfortable feeling. It was demonic and evil. The iron sword was very light in her hand. It was so light that it seemed to be weightless. However, When it was in her hand, it was obviously very strong. Yen Luan tried to wave it. It did not have the same momentum as when she waved it. She also tried to use her internal energy. However, her internal energy could not be injected into the iron sword. How to use this sword? Yen Luan was still studying how to use the iron sword. On the other side, Ning Huan was already at a disadvantage. When he saw Yen Luan holding the iron sword, he immediately rushed over. Shi Shang swiftly grabbed his collar and pulled him back. His clothes weren't fastened tightly to begin with, so with Shi Shang's tug, his entire shirt was ripped off, revealing his white undergarments. Without the thick and wide outer robe, his chest was completely flat. Shi Shang took the opportunity to throw his clothes and covered Ning Huan. He lifted his leg and kicked Ning Huan's stomach. Although Ning Huan could not see, he could distinguish the danger in the air. He moved his body to the side and pulled off his clothes to let himself see. With his head covered, he was a little confused. He wanted to go to Yen Luan's side, but now he was obviously further away from Yen Luan. Shi Shang was standing between him and Yen Luan. Ning Huan took a deep breath with a gloomy face. This woman was more powerful than she had imagined. At first, he thought that she was relying on that sword, but after she stopped using it, he realized that she was actually very powerful. Her moves were even more strange and unsystematic, but she was able to win with speed. "Your Highness, give me the sword," Ning Huan shouted at Yen Luan. Yen Luan did not understand how to use this thing. When she heard Ning Huan calling her, she did not hesitate and quickly threw the sword over. The weight of the iron sword was beyond Ning Huan's imagination. It was too light, like a fake. How did she manage to wield such a light sword with such an imposing manner? Shi Shang stared at Ning Huan with a faint smile. "Do you think my stuff is so useful?" She raised her hand slightly. The iron sword buzzed and shook away from Ning Huan's hand. Ning Huan held it tightly and took a step back. The iron sword floated in front of her and spun around as if showing off. Then, it flew back to Shi Shang's side and fell into his hand. Yen Qiu's gaze lingered on the iron sword for a moment. He had tried this sword before, but he could not exert any power. It was just like an ordinary sword, or even worse. It could not even leave a mark on the table. No wonder she dared to throw it around. If it was picked up by someone, it would just be a useless sword. She could call it back whenever she wanted. But this sword seemed to protect him on its own. He then looked at the owner of the sword, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Ning Huan looked at Yen Luan. The two of them attacked at the same time, one from the front and one from the back, attacking Shi Shang from both sides. A red light appeared and gathered into countless petals, surrounding the iron sword. When the two of them approached Shi Shang, all the petals scattered in all directions and gathered into a complete flower. Ah! The flowers were densely packed. No matter how fast Ning Huan and Yen Luan were, they could not avoid so many flowers. The two of them were knocked away at the same time. Almost at the same time, Shi Shang felt his arm go numb and he took a step back. The flowers that did not hit them scattered into petals and disappeared into the darkness. All kinds of collapsing sounds came from the darkness. The shadows of the tall trees could be seen falling down slowly. Ah, what happened? Little Black Face led his men out from behind the collapsed building. If they did not run out, they would be buried. Shi Shang used the iron sword to support himself and looked up at the sky. There were dark clouds gathering. Heroine, heroine. Little Black Face rushed to Shi Shang and saw Yen Luan and Ning Huan lying on the ground. He was a little helpless. Didn't you want to take Ning Huan's head? Why aren't you going? Shi Shang shook his numb hand and looked at Little Black Face expressionlessly. Oh. Little Black Face nodded stupidly. Then, he led his two dumbfounded men to Ning Huan. Little Black Face seemed to cry out in surprise. He probably found out that Princess Ning Huan was a man. Shi Shang dragged the iron sword to Yen Luan's side. Cough, cough. Those seemingly harmless flowers hit her body, but they were like boulders that weighed 1,000 kilograms. Her internal organs were shaken to the point of being displaced. There was blood on the corner of Yen Luan's mouth. Her eyes were filled with fear. She was afraid of Shi Shang and the sword. This was not a weapon that a human should have. Cough, cough. Hong Jin, you can't kill me. Why not? The iron sword was stabbed in front of her. The woman's mocking voice came from above her head. Didn't you want to kill me before? You can kill me, but I can't kill you? You tried to assassinate me first. Shi Shang shrugged. You wanted to kill me, and I wanted to kill you. Is it important how this happened? Or, if I let you go today, you won't care about what happened today? Do I look like a fool to you? Shi Shang pulled out the iron sword, pointed it at Yen Luan's chest, and stabbed it down without hesitation. The resistance was great. Yen Luan's arm felt like it was going to be broken. It was like a rubber band was wrapped around his arm, and his blood vessels were about to burst. This was the price of killing the female lead. Yen Luan looked on helplessly as the metal sword pierced her chest. Fear and pain gradually filled her eyes. No. No. Yen Luan's voice was miserable and sharp. It cut through the night like a ghost crying. Boom! Purple lightning came crashing down from the sky, landing right where Shi Shang was standing. In the blink of an eye, a dense cloud of lightning fell from the sky, engulfing her whole body in lightning. The area was full of flashing lightning. The moment the lightning struck, Yen Qiu rushed over. However, before he could get a meter away, the petals that had disappeared earlier quickly gathered from both sides and collided with each other. They formed a flower wall in front of him, blocking his path. You won't let me pass? Yen Qiu looked at the flower wall and murmured. He tried to touch the spinning petals, but they were not lethal. There was only a gentle resistance. Yen Qiu tried to calm himself down. He looked at the lightning area, but the lightning was too dense. He could not see her at all. Countless images flashed through Yen Qiu's mind. They used to be blurry, but now they were clear. It was like a movie playing in his mind at the fastest speed. A lot of memories suddenly came back. Yen Qiu's face was pale, but he became gentle, as if he was coated with a layer of warm light. Xiao Sheng. Chapter 1482. The lightning lasted for more than 20 minutes before it stopped. In the center of the lightning, there were only two dark figures. One was lying down, and the other was standing. Yen Qiu crashed into the wall of flowers. As if she was afraid that he would hurt her, the wall of flowers scattered and disappeared into the air without a trace. Before Shi Shang could take a look at his new look, he was hugged tightly. Xiao Shang, you scared me. His gentle voice trembled slightly, making him look especially pitiful. It seems like I have to scare him to recover his memory. Shi Shang concluded calmly. Last time, he had been scared, and this time, he had been scared too. Indeed, the doctor was not lying when he said that stimulation might help him recover his memory. Should she commit suicide in front of him next time so that he could recover his memory? Host, don't get any weird ideas. Do you think it's that easy? Shi Shang patted Yen Qiu's back gently, ignoring the system that had been appearing and disappearing mysteriously recently. It's okay. How can I risk my life with you around? She comforted him softly. Yen Qiu rubbed against her neck, his voice trembling slightly. Did you miss me? Shi Shang rolled his eyes, but he answered quickly. Yes, I did. Now that he had recovered his memory, she had to coax him. Otherwise, he would turn evil in front of her. She did not want an evil Feng Ci. After getting a satisfactory answer, Yen Qiu let go of him. He had rubbed against Shi Shang just now, so his face was also black. Shi Shang looked at him in amusement, but when he realized that he was a black mass in his eyes, he felt uncomfortable. I like you no matter what you look like. Yen Qiu did not forget to tease Shi Shang. Shi Shang grabbed his black hair and exploded. Like my ass. Turn around. Don't look. Yen Qiu pursed his lips and smiled. His eyes were filled with gentleness, emitting a warm glow from the inside out. He turned around obediently, but from the corner of his eyes, he suddenly saw a shadow that was escaping into the darkness not far away. He narrowed his eyes and waved his hand in that direction. When he realized that he could not move as freely as he could with his body, he lowered his hand. He ran away. Sher Shang was lavishly washing his dirty face with the mineral water in his space. Hearing Yen Qiu's voice, he answered casually, "Killing one is my limit. If he killed 2 of them, the world would collapse, right? TSK. I'm really looking forward to it. Host, calm down." Sher Shang washed her face. Little Black Face ran over. Heroine, heroine, Princess Ning Huan ran away. Little Black Face's words came to an abrupt end as he looked at the man standing in front of him in horror. His face was still the same, but his body seemed to be surrounded by an invisible darkness that surged towards him like a tide, dragging him deep into the darkness. He found it difficult to breathe, and his vision turned black. What's going on? Previously, the 7th prince did not like him and was a little scary. However, he was not as scary as he was now. A single look from him was enough to make him fall to the edge of death. Feng Ci. The woman's light voice rang out. The fear that oppressed him disappeared, and the man's voice was cold. Don't come within 10 meters of her. Before Little Black Face nodded, the man had already turned around. Little Black Face could clearly feel that the man's evil aura and darkness had disappeared, instantly turning into endless warmth, as though a handsome man had walked out from the spring breeze. Little Black Face. WTF? Did the 7th prince give him 2 different modes? Little Black Face subconsciously felt that he had to listen to the man's words, so he quickly retreated 10 meters to a safe zone. His body suddenly felt lighter, and his breathing became smoother. Sher Shang casually rearranged his hair. Princess Ning Huan ran away. Little Black Face jumped up and down. Heroine, what should we do? They had massacred the 9th prince's entire residence, and now even the 9th prince was dead. The black thing beside the heroine's feet should be the 9th prince's corpse, right? Princess Ning Huan had run away, and this news would definitely spread. At that time, the entire city would be hunted down. Just thinking about it was scary. He only wanted to earn money to support his Cool Breeze Hall, and did not want to offend the imperial court. Let's rebel. Sher Shang looked at Yen Qiu. Yen Qiu smiled obediently. Her eyes were filled with her, and there was nothing else in them. This was her Feng Ci. Sher Shang resisted the urge to ravage him, and held his hand as they walked out of the residence. Rebel. Little Black Face seemed to have just recovered from his shock. He caught up with Sher Shang in a few steps, but when Yen Qiu turned around, he quickly retreated to a safe distance, and raised his voice. No, heroine, this was not one of the conditions we agreed on. Rebel? Was this a joke? Do you think you can just say that you want to rebel? Others had not succeeded in setting it up for 10 or 20 years, and now you want to rebel? Can't you be more careful? I didn't ask you to participate. Do whatever you want, and we're even. Little Black Face. He scratched his head. He was the one who came to cooperate with Sher Shang to kill Ning Huan with him. At that time, Ning Huan had already been injured by her, and he had to deal with it himself. Therefore, Ning Huan ran away, and he could not blame her. But, Little Black Face glanced at the residence full of corpses. He gritted his teeth, and finally chased after Sher Shang. Little Black Face thought that Sher Shang wanted to go back and plan a rebellion, but who knew that this big boss would directly enter the palace and tie up the emperor, who was sleeping in the palace of one of the concubines. Little Black Face. Was he not awake today, or was he dreaming? Was this how a rebellion was created? Or was this how people in this era did things? Were history and TV dramas all fabricated? Little Black Face began to doubt his life. Someone come quickly. Don't make a fuss. Even if you scream yourself hoarse, no one will come to save you. The emperor glared at Sher Shang, and his face turned red. Then, his gaze fell on Yen Qiu. Yen Qiu, you evil creature, are you trying to rebel? Let go of me. The man, who had already turned white, kept twisting in his chair, and shouted angrily, Did you eat a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? I'm your father, let go of me. Yen Qiu stood to the side, and did not even look at the emperor. The emperor was so angry that smoke came out of his head. It was fine if he paid attention to him, but he ignored him. He was shouting and yelling here alone, and he did not have the bearing of an emperor at all. Shi Shang placed a table in front of the emperor, unfolded a piece of silk cloth, and pushed it towards the emperor. Come, write the Edict of Abdication. The emperor widened his eyes and looked at Shi Shang in disbelief. What do you want me to write? The Edict of Abdication. Shi Shang repeated. Don't you understand? You want me to write the Edict of Abdication? How dare you? The emperor roared. Yen Qiu, did you order this? Do you really want to rebel? Do you think that forcing me to write the Edict of Abdication is enough? Swish, the emperor suddenly felt a weight on his neck, and cold air seeped into his body. A woman's sinister voice sounded. Are you going to write it or not? No. The emperor was so angry that his heart hurt, but he still had a backbone. If you don't want to write it, then forget it. The emperor, Shi Shang, kicked the table away. Anyway, if he wrote it, it would just sound better in history. However, whether he wrote it or not, he would have to use force to suppress it in the end. She narrowed her eyes and smiled sinisterly. Let's settle the score of you using my highness as a chess piece. Asterisk hashtag today, I'm begging for fancy votes hashtag monthly votes hashtag recommend votes woo woo woo, love you all hashtag. Chapter 1483. The emperor's expression changed, but the anger in his eyes did not subside. The emperor did not dare to belittle Shi Shang. This woman should have died long ago, but she came back alive. He had tried to kill her several times but failed. She even had an ambiguous relationship with that evil creature, Yen Qiu. I raised him as the crown prince. When have I ever used him as a pawn? The emperor roared. The world will be yours in the future. I didn't expect you to be so cruel and unscrupulous. You can't even wait for this little bit of time. The last sentence was directed at Yen Qiu. Yen Qiu, who had been silent all this time, suddenly looked up at the emperor and then silently looked away. Her gaze did not linger on the emperor for more than a second. Do you dare to swear on your throne that you are raising him as the crown prince? The emperor, Shi Shang, sneered. You pushed him into the teeth of the storm. Is this your so-called cultivation? He wants to sit on the throne. If he doesn't even have the ability to face such risks, how can I rest assured and hand over the country to him? The emperor became more confident as he spoke. I'm doing this for his own good. Does he think it's so easy to be the emperor? Shi Shang forced a smile and lowered his iron sword. For his own good? You don't want to waste his life and use him as a shield for your fifth prince? Her voice was neither hurried nor slow, but at this moment, it made people feel cold all over. The emperor could not hide his surprise under his anger, but there was also a trace of undetectable panic. How did she know? You instigated a fight between Yen Luan and Yen Qiu because you wanted to see them both injured. Only then would you have the chance to eliminate them and cause the empress's clan to decline, right? Shi Shang continued, I'm guessing that the empress died long ago. The emperor snorted. Nonsense. The empress is alive and well. Although she no longer manages the harem, she still sends the concubines to visit her once a month. If the empress is dead, who will the concubines meet? A ghost. The emperor almost choked. The conversation before was so serious, but he suddenly said this. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. It's not important anyway. Shi Shang continued, I'm here today to kill you. There's no other purpose. You? Shi Shang looked at him with a smile. The emperor's voice disappeared in his throat, as if someone was strangling him. It was difficult for him to breathe. The cold air spread from the iron sword to his limbs, as if he was frozen by ice and snow. He was so stiff that he could not move. He seemed to see fear and darkness behind her, twisting and crushing towards him, swallowing the light around him bit by bit. He had been the emperor for so many years, but he had never sensed such a strange aura from anyone. The iron sword resting on his neck seemed to have cut his neck. Warm blood flowed out from his neck, but he didn't feel any pain. The Emperor was scared. He was really scared. It was the first time he was so scared. "I will write the abdication edict. I will write." The Emperor's voice was trembling. "I will give the throne to him. Don't kill me." At first, he thought that she wouldn't act so quickly. As long as she delayed until someone noticed that something was wrong and came to save him, he would be fine. But he didn't expect her to make a move after a few words. No, this was not a theory at all. If the throne was gone, he could still take it back. But if his life was gone, then everything would be gone. "It's too late." The Shang sneered. The iron sword mercilessly moved away from the Emperor's neck. The Emperor suddenly felt his neck heat up, and blood spurted out. It wasn't an illusion. The sword had really cut his neck. It was just that it was too cold, and he couldn't feel the pain. You. The Emperor's mouth was wide open, and his eyeballs were protruding. His forehead was covered with earthworm-like veins. He couldn't form a complete sentence no matter how hard he tried. Little Black Face, who was standing in the corner, was also trembling in fear. She actually killed the Emperor. The Emperor of this world was too easy to kill. Was it fake? Heroine, you killed the Emperor just like that? Little Black Face stuttered. It was obvious that he was scared out of his wits. Even if he was an assassin, he was still scared out of his wits. That was the Emperor, not a cabbage. The Shang thought for a while and said something shocking. "Otherwise, I will dismember his body." Little Black Face flips table. Killing the Emperor was already shocking enough. You still want to dismember his body? Why don't you go to heaven? Mama, there was a pervert here. He wanted to go back. Transmigration was dangerous, so he had to be careful. It was too late for Little Black Face to run now. He had already boarded a pirate ship. It was easy to get on a pirate ship, but hard to get off. Why was his life so hard? He just wanted to make money. He must have been crazy to follow her into the palace. If there was a time machine and let him go back to the past, he would definitely elope without hesitation. Leave. Heroine. At this point, Little Black Face could only force himself to believe in the heroine's strength. Should we forge an imperial edict now? Although the credibility was zero, it was better than nothing. Shang looked sideways at the trembling Little Black Face. This transmigrator was indeed not a good person. Fortunately, he wasn't the main character. If he was, wouldn't this world be turned upside down by him? "I'm very busy. I don't have time to forge an imperial edict." Shang retracted his gaze. If he had time to forge an imperial edict, he might as well kill a few more people. He had already killed the boss, so why would he be afraid of not being able to kill a group of small monsters? Haha, do you know that the game company will kill you if you continue to play games like this? She had already killed the boss before the small monsters were even killed. This was against the rules of the game, okay? But heroine. Little Black Face suddenly met Yen Chio's gaze. His body suddenly stiffened, and his words were stuck in his throat. He was scared to death. He took a few steps back. When he felt that the gaze had weakened, he continued, "Heroine, why am I so confused about what you said just now? Isn't the Emperor the most..." He glanced at Yen Chio. Wasn't the Emperor the most fond of this person? Why was it that she was using him? Aren't you well informed? Shang looked at Little Black Face with a faint smile. "I'm well informed in my field. This involves the royal family. How can a commoner like me know?" Little Black Face was very self-aware. Shang pulled the curtain aside and covered the Emperor, who was already dead. The Emperor's favorite was the fifth prince. I heard that the fifth prince was the son of one of his favorite concubines. Unfortunately, that concubine died tragically. Although the Emperor wanted to treat the fifth prince well, he didn't dare to show it openly because the Empress's family was too powerful. He could only push Yen Qiu to the throne and use her as a shield. The emperor's plan was very good. He first used Yen Qiu and Yen Wan to cause a conflict. The reason he thought of using Yen Wan was probably because Yen Wan and Yen Qiu didn't get along well before. It wasn't strange for two people who didn't get along with each other to suddenly fight. When the two of them were almost done fighting, the emperor would find a way to intervene and smoothly eliminate Yen Qiu and the empress's family. Chapter 1484. Based on the original development, the emperor would not be able to get away with it. Yen Wan was the female lead. How dare she lay her hands on the female lead? She must be tired of living. And Yen Qiu would not have a good ending either. This kind of plot was very common in palace fights. The next morning, when the officials found that the person sitting on the dragon throne had changed, they were all shocked and pointed at Yen Qiu angrily. Because he didn't have a custom-made dragon robe, Yen Qiu was still wearing his golden python robe. At this moment, he was sitting on the dragon throne with his eyes lowered. He didn't look at anyone and let the angry ministers below curse him. But the officials who were close to him could feel the sinister aura coming from him. The voices of the officials in front were obviously weaker. When someone called the imperial guards to arrest Yen Qiu, they were surrounded by the imperial guards. There was a moment of silence, followed by all kinds of noise. This is rebellion. Where is His Majesty? Where is His Majesty? Yen Qiu, what did you do to His Majesty? His Majesty treated you so well, why did you do this? Yen Qiu, are you crazy? Do you know what you are doing? Even if you sit on that throne, we will never admit it. It had only been one night and they did not hear anything. How did everything change? Just as the officials were scolding and stomping their feet, outside the main hall, a person came in through the passage opened by the imperial guards. Yen Qiu suddenly stood up. The officials were shocked. They were so angry just now, but he did not react at all. Now, he suddenly stood up. Shang slowly walked up the stairs under the shocked gazes of the officials. He stood beside Yen Qiu and smiled. Good morning. The officials. Good morning, my ass. No, who are you? Shang pressed Yen Qiu back onto the throne before raising her head to sweep her gaze over the officials with various expressions. The emperor is already dead. If you wish to accompany him in the afterlife, I can send you on your way. If you wish to return home and farm, that's fine too. As for those who wish to remain loyal to the new emperor, you're welcome to do so as well. Dead? Nonsense. His Majesty was still fine yesterday. How did he suddenly die? That's right. His Majesty was in good health. How did he suddenly die? What are you and the seventh prince planning? Don't think that you can force us to submit. We swear loyalty to His Majesty. Swear loyalty to His Majesty. I pledge my life to your Majesty. The ministers were completely confused about what was going on. Say, a rebellion? Which rebellion didn't result in rivers of blood and mountains of corpses? How could a rebellion end so quietly? If it wasn't a rebellion, then what was the seventh prince doing? How could a host with a special ability to rebel be compared to a mortal? She was going up to fight the boss. What could a bunch of small monsters like you do? The other party didn't care about it at all. Flips table *, did she even remember where she was? The system was so frustrated that it wanted to revert to its factory settings. Of course he was killed by me. The minister. Shang looked at the ministers whose faces had changed and ordered them to bring the emperor's body up. Ah! Your Majesty! As soon as the emperor's body appeared, the ministers immediately shouted themselves hoarse. It was as if whoever shouted the loudest would be rewarded. Of course, there were also many people who had strange expressions on their faces. You wouldn't believe me if I didn't show you the corpse. Here, Your Majesty, keep him well. The imperial guards placed the emperor's corpse in front of the ministers. The ministers who were shouting loudly didn't dare to step forward at this time. If you don't agree, you can go back and gather your men. Shang smiled faintly and said arrogantly, even if I give you a chance to cause trouble, you won't be able to do anything. Shi Shang waved his hand and the imperial guards who were blocking them immediately made way. The ministers looked at each other in confusion. He was letting them go just like that. He even asked them to gather their men? The ministers hesitated for a moment. Some wanted to leave, but they didn't. Everyone could only stand there in a deadlock. Seventh Prince, you killed your father to seize power. Even if you sit on the throne, your name is not right. How will history write about you? His Majesty is so good to you. Has your conscience been eaten by a dog? Yan Qiu's gaze fell on the person who spoke. Shi Shang saw that he was about to speak, so he took a step back and didn't rush to refute him. Good to me? Yan Qiu's voice was cold and the curve of his mouth was indescribably sinister. Fortunately, after these 3 words, he lowered his eyes and seemed to lose interest. None of you are fools. Quite a few of you should know what the Emperor is planning. After all, quite a few of you are standing on the 5th Prince's side. Following Shi Shang's words, the officials' expressions turned unsightly. I don't want to waste time with you. If you don't agree, come and fight. If you win, you can take the throne back. Whoever wants to sit on it can sit on it. If you can't win, you can't do anything. The woman was wearing a black robe. The dark patterns on it were faintly discernible as the skirt swayed, like flowing silver light. Her eyes were full of arrogance. It was the first time that they had seen a rebellion like this. Today, I will clean up the mess on behalf of His Majesty. A man in armor stood out and roared. Then he drew a sword from the waist of an imperial guard and directly attacked Yan Qiu. Avenge His Majesty! After the first minister attacked, the generals hesitated for a moment and followed suit. The civil officials could only cover their heads and run away, screaming. The scene fell into chaos. Most of the generals who tried to resist died, but quite a few of the civil officials managed to survive. Shi Shang had them released. The civil officials trembled as they returned home. They didn't find anything strange in the capital. This proved that it was only the palace that had changed. The people outside didn't know at all. But how could this be kept a secret? The news of the 7th Prince's rebellion quickly spread throughout the capital. Xianchen, who heard the news from others, was dumbfounded. Rebellion? His Highness didn't say anything to him. How could there be a rebellion? But Xianchen couldn't find Yan Qiu anywhere in the prince's residence. He asked the guards on duty last night and found out that His Highness and Hong Jin had gone out last night. His Highness told them not to spread the news. Hong Jin, it was that woman again. Xianchen asked about the situation in the palace and hurriedly brought people into the palace. The palace was completely under the control of the imperial guards. But he wasn't stopped when he entered. It was obvious that it was ordered by the higher-ups. Outside the throne room, Xianchen saw Little Black Face, who was wearing a black suit and had wrapped himself so tightly that only his eyes could be seen. He was squatting on the steps outside the throne room. Xianchen frowned. Why was the hall master of the Cool Breeze Hall here? Little Black Face sensed that someone was coming and raised his head. When he saw who it was, he suddenly jumped up and rushed into the throne room. Oh my God, why was this pervert here? He almost died in the hands of this pervert last time. Run, run. Xianchen hurriedly chased after him. The throne room was a mess. Shi Shang and Yan Qiu were sitting in a row on the steps, each holding a plate of fruit and eating. Those who didn't know would never know that these 2 people were the ones who occupied the palace overnight. Little Black Face hid somewhere after he came in. Shi Shang looked around and didn't see him. Your Highness. Xianchen hurriedly walked to Yan Qiu. He didn't care about Little Black Face. Since he could enter and leave this place freely, it meant that he wasn't an enemy. Yan Qiu looked at him and felt that he was a stranger. But she still faintly nodded. Chapter 1485. Your Highness, why are you rebelling all of a sudden? You should at least give me a reason. Shi Shang chewed on his fruit and answered for Yan Qiu. Her hand slipped and she killed Yan Wan, so she casually killed the emperor as well. Xianchen. Her hand slipped and she killed Yan Wan. What does that have to do with the emperor's death? What does it have to do with your rebellion? You're just casually rebelling? Ah? Shishang seemed to know what Xianchen was thinking and continued, since she's already dead, let's just settle it once and for all. Otherwise, there's no end to this. I'm very busy. How can I have the time to deal with them one by one? It's best to just mess everything up. Xianchen really wanted to slap her to death. Ever since this woman got close to His Highness had become less like His Highness. Now, he even did such a thing without informing anyone and created a rebellion on his own. Xianchen took a few deep breaths before he could stop himself from cursing. Since you've already caught them, why did you let those officials leave? Let them gather their troops, Shishang replied matter-of-factly. Xianchen suppressed his anger. Gather their troops to attack the palace? So what was the purpose of the rebellion? That's good. It's easy to deal with them all at once. Xianchen. Your Highness, what do you see in her? Is she boasting shamelessly? She didn't know how many soldiers there were outside, but how could His Highness not know? If they really attacked the palace together, would they be able to defend it? Your Highness, are you just going to watch her do as she pleases? Xianchen placed his hopes on Yan Qiu. Yan Qiu replied in a noble and reserved manner. Xianchen. The one who was poisoned wasn't this woman, but His Highness, right? Things had already reached this stage. What else could Xianchen say? He was also in despair. What's the next deployment? Xianchen looked at Shishang. Just wait. Shishang had a "what else are you up to" expression on his face. Who's up to no good? Can you be reasonable? Xianchen clenched his fists. If it wasn't for the fact that Yan Qiu was sitting beside him, he would have really hit her. After Xianchen entered the palace, the Shishang gave him the command of the Imperial Guards. It was unknown how the Imperial Guards were subdued, but they were very obedient. If they were ordered to go east, they would not go west. At the same time, Xianchen also realized that something was amiss with Yan Qiu. Yan Qiu was unwilling to meet him, and he would ignore him whenever he spoke to him. Even if he asked 10 questions, Yan Qiu would not answer a single one of them. His aura was also much stronger than before. She spent every day with Shishang. No matter what she did, even if he didn't step forward, he would wait by the side. Could it be that His Highness is possessed? Xianchen glared at the person who spoke, and that person immediately covered his mouth. There's something wrong with Her Highness, Xianchen sighed. She's even colder and more heartless than before. If Yan Qiu had been on the brink of darkness in the past, then Yan Qiu had completely fallen into darkness now. However, when he was facing that woman, all of his sharpness and darkness could not be seen at all. It was extremely strange. Hey! Little Black Face, who was still dressed in black, waved at Xianchen from a distance. The heroine wants you to get ready. It's about to start. Little Black Face ran off after shouting. Xianchen. He always knew that this hall master of the Cool Breeze Hall was a weirdo, but how did he get together with that woman to rebel? How could he rebel with someone he picked up along the way? There must be something wrong with his brain. By the time the people outside had finished gathering their forces, they had already surrounded the imperial city. Shishang had only occupied the imperial palace, so the number of soldiers stationed in the capital and the troops stationed nearby was quite sizable. Xianchen was already prepared to flee with Her Highness if he couldn't win. However, Shishang only went out for a round. When he returned, he and Little Black Face's subordinates were dragging a general who was either dead or alive. As the saying goes, to catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. Without a general, the soldiers would be scattered like sand. Xianchen. So what did she want him to prepare? To let him see how awesome she was? Flip the table. I'll leave the rest to you, the heroine said to let them feel the warm greetings of the new emperor. Little Black Face transmitted these words from afar. Xianchen. Haha. After all, without a general, it wasn't difficult for Xianchen to deal with these people. Soon, he had everyone under control and scattered out of the city. The surviving officials didn't dare to cause any more trouble. They all acknowledged Yen Qiu as the new emperor. The capital looked chaotic, but there weren't many casualties. There hadn't been many fights, so it would be strange if there were any casualties. This was probably the strangest rebellion they had ever experienced. This wasn't what shocked Xian Chen. What shocked him was that she actually wanted to unify the world. Even Her Highness didn't have such grand ambitions. Was she crazy? Clearly, Shi Shang wasn't crazy. Back then, she had said that she would make the world give way to his deviations. She was just fulfilling her words now. The 7 countries had been divided for a long time, and each country had different military strength. It wasn't that there weren't any monarchs who wanted to unify the world, but who was able to achieve this grand ambition? However, Shi Shang didn't care so much. She brought an army, but the army only stayed at the border and didn't attack. She went straight to the palace and forced the emperor to write a letter of surrender. Not convinced. Beat him up. Beat him up until he was convinced. If he was really stubborn, then she could only replace him with a more sensible person and write a letter of surrender. The people of each country hated her to death, but they couldn't do anything about her. After all, her martial strength was off the charts. In front of absolute strength, no one dared to say no. Princess Ning Huan, who was disguised as a woman, had returned to Xia country and contacted Jin and Chu to prepare to annex Yen country. However, before they could do anything, the 3 neighboring countries surrendered to Yen country. Yen country's army went straight to the border of Jin and Chu. Shi Shang didn't take long to conquer Jin and Chu. It was so fast that Ning Huan didn't have time to make arrangements. Ning Huan was furious. Every time he had just made a plan, she would start to act unreasonably and catch him off guard. After Shi Shang conquered Jin and Chu, he didn't do anything to Xia country. Instead, he left Xia country to Jin and Chu. Jin and Chu's initial plan was to annex Xia country. However, Xia country suddenly had a marriage alliance with Yen country, which blocked their plan. After that, Ning Huan gave them a bad idea to attack Yen country. With such a pervert in Yen country, if they really went, would they be able to come back alive? Ning Huan came back from Yen country, so she obviously knew about this. However, she still asked them to do it. Who would believe that she didn't do it on purpose? Shi Shang left Xia country to these 2 countries. What kind of good ending would Xia country have? Compared to the other countries that had submitted to Shi Shang, Xia kingdom was in a much worse state. Other than the royal families and those in power who were beaten up badly, almost no lives were lost. However, Xia country was different. The people were homeless and there were complaints everywhere. Compared to this, the people of each country suddenly felt lucky. At least they didn't have to live in fear. They didn't care about what the higher-ups suffered as long as they lived a stable life. Chapter 1486. The Xia kingdom was destroyed and Ning Huan was captured by the Jin kingdom. However, when the Jin kingdom's emperor was about to enjoy the beauty, he found out that the beauty was a man. The Jin kingdom's emperor was so frightened that he almost killed Ning Huan. However, when he thought of being deceived and Ning Huan's face, she was so beautiful that it was suffocating. Even if she had an extra object on her body, it didn't affect her beauty at all. The Jin kingdom's emperor didn't like men, but it didn't mean that others didn't like men either. The Jin kingdom's emperor crippled her martial arts and built a courtyard for her. All the officials and nobles of the Jin kingdom who liked men could go there. Even if they didn't do anything, they could humiliate her. During that time, Ning Huan was living a life worse than death. He had such a good plan, but why did it end before it even started? Later on, Ning Huan planned to escape. Although she ran away, he lost everything. All his escape routes had been cut off under that woman's instructions. Without martial arts and no one to rely on, it was almost impossible for Ning Huan to take revenge. Because of his overly flamboyant face, the latter half of his life could be said to be very difficult. It took less than a year for the Yen kingdom to unify the 7 countries. This strange speed was said to be miraculous. In the end, the overlord who reached the top wasn't that woman, but the seventh prince of the Yen kingdom. In this year, the seventh prince didn't appear much. Everyone thought that the one who would become the overlord would be Shang, but in the end, they found out that it wasn't him. After the conferring ceremony was set, people from various countries began to rush to the capital of the Yen kingdom. The seventh prince is really lucky to meet such a woman. The world is at his fingertips. If I had such a woman, I would wake up laughing in my dreams. This woman is too strong. The seventh prince must be having a hard time, right? Are you guys from out of town? The guest beside him asked with a strange expression. Yes, aren't we here to watch the conferring ceremony? The person who was in a heated discussion nodded. Who didn't want to watch the conferring ceremony of the 7 countries? No wonder. That person shook his head. Seeing that the person didn't continue, the outsiders urged, "What is it, brother? Tell us about it." The man took a sip of tea. The seventh prince's life is not difficult at all. On the contrary, Miss Hong Jin will get him whatever he wants. Do you still remember a month ago when we bought Yunxiang rice at a high price? How can I not remember? The yield of this type of rice was originally low, and the rice made from it was not very delicious either. Many people have already given up on planting it. However, during the purchase a month ago, the farmers who planted the Yunxiang rice made a lot of money. Many people were envious. Although they were not from the Yen kingdom, the news had spread widely and everyone knew about it. This rice is from the palace. I heard that the seventh prince likes the porridge made from Yunxiang rice. However, Yunxiang rice is not a royal supply, so there is no such thing as Yunxiang rice in the palace. It is also very difficult to buy it on the market. That's why they bought it at such a high price. Was the seventh prince's life difficult? No. On the contrary, everyone in the Yen kingdom knew that Miss Hong Jin doted on the seventh prince to the heavens. Compared to the previous emperor's favor, this was true doting. Noticing the stunned looks on everyone's faces, the man chuckled mysteriously. Let me tell you something else. Previously, the Minister of Rights was unhappy with Miss Hong Jin's governance, and he got into an argument with Miss Hong Jin. Miss Hong Jin was going to kill the Minister of Rights. You should know that no one can stop her from killing anyone she wants. However, the seventh prince said that he did not want to see blood that day and saved the Minister of Rights' life. The foreigners looked at each other and saw the disbelief in each other's eyes. Before coming to the Yen kingdom, they thought that the seventh prince had a hard time. After all, who would be able to stand such a domineering woman? However, now it seemed that the seventh prince was being praised to the heavens. The longer they stayed in the Yen kingdom, the more rumors they heard. They were also more certain of the seventh prince's position in Miss Hong Jin's heart. He was a treasure that no one could touch and could only be revered. Not everyone was allowed to attend the conferring ceremony. However, there would be a tour of the city after the ceremony. The imperial guards had already cordoned off the streets. When the bright yellow carriages slowly drove out of the imperial city, the citizens craned their necks to watch. The seventh prince who used to bully men and women had actually become the final winner. No matter how he became the emperor of the Yen kingdom, now that the 7 kingdoms were united, it was no longer a big deal for the citizens of the Yen kingdom to hold on to. The Yen kingdom had unified the 7 kingdoms. As the original citizens of the Yen kingdom, they had a sense of superiority. Shang sat beside Yen Qiu. The bright yellow gauze on both sides of him hung down layer by layer, blurring the scene outside. I heard that you used to bully men and women? The discussion outside drifted in. Shang could not help but raise his eyebrows to look at the man sitting opposite him. Yen Qiu tilted his head and thought for a moment. They spread the rumor. I didn't. Yen Qiu used to do many despicable things, but they were all for the emperor to see. The emperor wanted to raise him into a good-for-nothing. In order to make the emperor let down his guard, there were some things that he had to do. That's great. Yen Qiu reached out and held Shang's hand. He silently smiled at him as a warm light flowed in his eyes. The ceremony did not cause any trouble. The group circled around the city and finally left the city, heading towards the direction of Long Yen City. Who was the owner of Long Yen City? Until now, it was still unknown. However, even after such a big turmoil, Long Yen City still stood tall and did not fall. It could be seen that the owner of Long Yen City was quite awesome. Shi Shang looked at Little Black Face, who was standing in the middle of a group of beauties. The corner of his mouth fiercely twitched twice. Was this really an expert by his side? Heroine. Heroine. Little Black Face happily rushed over. Heroine, I already knew that you were coming. I didn't do any business and specially waited here for you. Shi Shang lifted the curtain and jumped down first. Only then did he let Yen Qiu come down with his hand. Long Yen City is yours? Shi Shang sized up the beauties in the distance. Indeed, they were quite beautiful. It's not. Shi Shang. If it's not yours, what are you doing here? Little Black Face continued, It's the organization's. Shi Shang. He didn't know whether to say, MMP, or not. You're the boss of the organization. Isn't this yours? King retard. Shi Shang entered Long Yen City. The decoration inside had a bit of modern elements. In any case, this boss Little Black Face was also a transmigrator. Even if he wasn't the main character, as long as he didn't clash with the main character, he shouldn't be too miserable. Shi Shang didn't know if the original owner came purely to see the so-called peony scenery or if she had some other purpose. The original owner's memories couldn't be recovered. However, after she finished seeing the peony scenery, she didn't have any strange reaction. It was just a group of beauties displaying their talents and choosing the most beautiful one. It was the same as a modern singing and dancing competition. Perhaps the original owner simply wanted to see a performance and didn't have any other purpose. Sometimes, people could be so complicated that it was impossible to guard against them. Sometimes, people could be so simple that it was inconceivable. The 43rd plane ended. Chapter 1487. After staying in this world until her natural death, Shi Shang didn't find any strange connection between the original owner and Dragon Mist City. Yen Qiu asked her several times if she wanted to know the original owner's background, but Shi Shang was too lazy to investigate these things. This world had nothing to do with her, and she had already fulfilled the original owner's last wish. Why should she cause more trouble for herself? So later on, Shi Shang focused on showing off her affection with Yen Qiu. Everyone in the world knew that these two were deeply in love with each other, and there were no problems in between. Many people envied them. In the records of later generations, most people ignored how these two people ascended to the highest position. The focus was on their incomparable love. Everyone knew that Ji Tong was fake. Patter, patter. The footsteps came closer and closer, and finally stopped beside Shi Shang. She was conscious, but she couldn't open her eyes. Then she felt herself moving. The footsteps didn't disappear, and there was the sound of wind blowing on her body. It was all gloomy and cold. What the hell? There was spiritual energy in this world, and it was very rich. Shi Shang immediately absorbed the spiritual energy into her body. This body didn't seem to reject spiritual energy, and soon she felt her eyelids loosen. But when she opened her eyes, it was still dark in front of her. It took her a while to adapt. This was a very quiet path, and she was sitting in a big red palanquin. The palanquin was made of paper? WTF. Shi Shang looked down at what she was wearing. Unexpectedly, it was also made of paper. There was no cover around the palanquin, so she could easily see the paper dolls carrying the palanquin. In addition to the paper dolls carrying the palanquin, there were several people in front of the palanquin. They were all wearing red, and it was so festive that it seemed like they were getting married. The patter just now wasn't the sound of footsteps, but the sound of wind blowing on the paper dolls. My way of opening is wrong. Close eyes. Open eyes. Close eyes. Flip table. What the hell is this world? Shi Shang pinched herself. After finding that she was a human, she was slightly relieved. Fortunately, she didn't have a paper body. The palanquin was carried forward by the paper dolls. The swaying shadows of the trees around the path were like ferocious monsters, ready to eat her at any time. Shi Shang had goosebumps all over her body. Damn, I'm scared to death. Where is Ai's sword? Shi Shang sat in the sedan chair for a while to make sure that the spiritual qi in her body could support her to get out. Then she took out her iron sword, kicked open the paper-made door, and jumped out of the sedan chair. The moment she jumped out of the palanquin, all the paper dolls turned to look at her. The two blushes on her cheeks and the strange smile on her face were terrifying. She didn't know where the cold wind came from, but it rolled into her paper clothes and made her shiver. The Shi Shang sniffed and rushed toward the nearest paper dolls with his sword. Every time the iron sword chopped down a paper doll, it would turn into a small human-shaped paper doll and fall from the sky. After killing all the paper dolls, Shi Shang's Reiki was also exhausted. She looked at the strange red palanquin on the ground and couldn't help but feel a chill. What kind of crazy thing did the original owner do to be married off to a dead person? Ugh! Shi Shang suddenly felt nauseous, and a strange pain swept from his abdomen. It felt like something was stirring her intestines. Shi Shang's forehead was covered in cold sweat. She couldn't stay here any longer. The person who controlled these things must have realized that something was wrong. She was fine, but the pain made it difficult for her to even hold her sword. Something bad would happen if she stayed here. Run! Shi Shang turned over and lay on the iron sword, and quickly left this place. After flying up, she realized that this was a very remote place. At the end of the path, there was a house. There was a red lantern hanging in front of the house, and the word happiness on it could be seen from afar. It seemed that the original owner was going to be carried to this place. Host, the original owner committed suicide by taking poison. She still has poison in her body. You need to go to the hospital now. The system was afraid that Shi Shang would die, so it reminded her. Poison? What kind of poison? 7-step powder? Soul-stealing pill? Host, you think too much. This is the modern world, okay? It's just a normal pesticide. Shi Shang looked at the wedding dress he was wearing. It was an ancient style, and the paper dolls were dressed as maids. The spiritual qi was not poor. What was wrong with her thinking that this was the modern world? But face, are you asking for a beating? Come and beat me. The system suddenly had the courage to argue with Shi Shang. But face. Host, you're dying. The system reminded her seriously. Your vital signs are declining. If you don't go to the hospital now, you'll die soon. You can't even protect yourself, and you still want to threaten me? Humph. Do you think I'm scared? Shi Shang snorted. Then die. Anyway, if you fail the test, the mastermind will take over the universe. Do you think you can run away? But Face didn't say anything. Shi Shang immediately took advantage of it. Give me the medicine. Not provided. Then I'll just wait for death. Master, get rid of this rascal. I don't want to serve you anymore. Shi Shang looked like he would kill I if I didn't give him the medicine. The system and Shi Shang were in a stalemate for a while. Finally, the system gave him a bottle of transparent liquid. Shi Shang drank the liquid, and the pain in his body lessened. The system was probably so angry that it went offline. Shi Shang lay on the iron sword and let it fly him around while he tried to retrieve the memory. The original owner was called Ji Tong. A year ago, she and a few friends went to explore the famous No Man's Land in Anfeng County. She accidentally got separated from the group and was trapped in the mountains for a few days. She couldn't take it anymore and rolled down the mountain. When she woke up, she found that she had been rescued. But strangely, she had lost her memory. She couldn't remember who she was or where she came from. Everything that could prove her identity was gone, except for the jade guanyin hanging around her neck. Most of the people in the village who rescued her were poor, and no one took her to see a doctor. Her body was very weak after the fall, and it was impossible for her to leave alone. Just like that, she lived in the village where she was rescued. The people in the village were very nice and treated her well. She lived there for a year. After a year, she still hadn't recovered her memory. The people in the village thought that she wouldn't recover her memory, so they started to introduce her to the men in the village who didn't have a partner. Ji Tong had a sense of pride and nobility in her bones. She obviously wasn't a child of an ordinary family. How could she be interested in the men in the village? The people in the village didn't have any objections at first. But after being rejected a few times, the people in the village started to gossip. She had been eating and drinking for free in the village for so long. They had raised her for so long. Now that they were introducing men to her, she still refused. Wasn't she an ingrate? More and more people talked like this. Ji Tong couldn't take it anymore and prepared to leave the village. Just as she made up her mind, she accidentally heard the villagers talking about sending her to a rich family in the next village for a ghost marriage. The money that they had raised her for a year would all be returned. Ji Tong was scared when she heard this. She wanted to run away, but she didn't expect to disturb the villagers who were talking. The villagers tied her up that day. ## Tiguanyan flavored votes today #vote vote vote vote. Weibo name: Little Fairy Shi Shang. Chapter 1488. The people in the village seemed to have changed into different people. They were mean and sarcastic. They scolded her and some even hit her from time to time. Perhaps because they wanted to use her to exchange for money, no one did anything else to her. Ji Tong was locked up for many days. Until tonight, she was put on a sedan. Ji Tong was terrified. She didn't want to marry a dead person. She would rather die than marry a dead person. So when she was in conflict with the villagers, she hid a bottle of pesticide in her sleeve. Although her clothes were made of paper, the style was ancient. The sleeves were very big. She hid a small bottle of pesticide and didn't attract the attention of the villagers. Then, on the way, she deliberately struggled and took the opportunity to drink the pesticide. When she was about to die, Ji Tong's memory suddenly came back. She remembered who she was. Unfortunately, it was too late. Her life was over. Then, Shi Shang came over. Ji Tong wanted to go home and reunite with her family. Ji Tong's family background wasn't bad. She was the only daughter of the rich Ji family in H City. She was very spoiled at home. But Ji Tong wasn't a spoiled little princess. On the contrary, she was very opinionated and knew what she wanted. Since she was young, she was someone else's child. At school, she was a goddess who made people jealous. The original owner only said to go home. She didn't need to go to that existence to seek justice for her. So, Shi Shang decided to go directly to H City. H City. It was spring. The sun shone warmly on the ground. People came and went at the station in a hurry. A girl in sportswear walked out of the crowd. She put her hands in her pockets. Her steps weren't big, but she was calmer than ordinary people. People could see her at a glance. The girl looked around and found the exit. She walked out of the station. This girl was Shi Shang. When Shi Shang reached the exit of the station, she suddenly felt a chill on her back. She turned her head subconsciously and saw a girl in a floral dress. She was very cute. She had 2 braids, but her face was pale and she looked at her gloomily. Shi Shang held her forehead and showed a grimace. Ever since she left the mountainous area and went to a place with many people, she could see ghosts. Most of them were unconscious, but there were also ghosts with consciousness like the girl in the floral dress. When she was in the mountains, the original owner didn't see any ghosts. There were 2 possibilities. One was that the village didn't have any ghosts. The other was that the original owner was tortured by the villagers and activated some special ability. But the original owner couldn't see ghosts before, so the only explanation was that she had activated her special ability. The girl in the floral dress seemed to have realized that Shi Shang could see her, so she took a few steps closer to him. Shi Shang suddenly retreated and quickly ran out of the station. The girl in the floral dress chased him for a while, but she couldn't go any further at the entrance of the train station. Shi Shang stood outside and looked at her. The expression of the girl in the floral dress was much more vivid than her gloomy look just now. She looked wronged, helpless, and desperate. "You can see me, right? Help me, please help me, sister, help me." The girl in the floral dress's voice passed through the crowd and fell clearly into Shi Shang's ears. Shi Shang looked at her pitiful appearance, rubbed his head impatiently, and walked back through the gate to a place where there was no one around. The girl in the floral dress's eyes lit up and she floated after him. Shi Shang stopped at a place where there was no one around. He leaned against the wall and looked at the girl in the floral dress floating in front of him. She looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old, very young. "Sister, please help me." The girl in the floral dress looked at Shi Shang with tears in her eyes. "I've been here for so long, and you're the only one who can see me. Sister, please help me." "What's wrong with you?" Ordinary ghosts were just in an unconscious state. They would disappear after floating between heaven and earth for a few days. Ghosts with consciousness either had unfulfilled wishes or resentment. The girl in the floral dress's tears fell down. The girl had come to H City to visit her relatives. She was going to go to high school in H City. Because she had lost her relative's phone number on the day she arrived, she had to wait at the station for them to pick her up. But after waiting for a long time, her relatives did not come to pick her up. There were fewer and fewer people at the station. Fortunately, there were some who were rushing to catch the night train, so she was not very afraid. It happened when the girl went to the toilet. A man dragged her into the toilet and raped and killed her. When she woke up, she saw her relatives looking for her at the station. But no matter how she called out to them, they did not respond. She could not get in touch with them. At that time, she realized that she was dead. After that, she could not leave this place. Shi Shang did not sense any resentment from her, which meant that she was not a resentful spirit who had become a ghost after being raped and killed. Shi Shang frowned slightly. "Your body must still be in the station. That's why you can't leave here. Do you know where your body is?" The girl in the floral dress nodded. "Where is it?" The girl in the floral dress immediately floated to the hall and stopped in front of a pillar on the south side of the hall. She pointed at the pillar and said, "It's in there." Shi Shang's mouth twitched. "Are you sure you're not messing with me? According to what you said, there were people at the station at that time. Who would dare to stuff your body into the pillar in front of people?" No, I'm not lying." The girl in the floral dress shook her head nervously. The station was not so big at that time. There were a lot of scaffolding erected here. At that time, only that side was accessible. If you didn't come here on purpose, you wouldn't be able to see this side. Shi Shang looked in the direction the girl was pointing. The ticket gate was back to back. If the scaffolding was used for construction, it should be able to block people's view. Shi Shang reached out and touched the smooth pillar. "Even if what you said is true, I can't cut down the pillar in front of so many people, right? Vandalism? I'll be arrested." "Sister." The girl in the floral dress felt wronged. "I've been dead for a long time, but you're the only one who can see me. Please, I want to leave here." "Don't you want to take revenge?" Shi Shang crossed his arms and looked at her sideways. "Revenge?" The girl in the floral dress looked up in confusion. After a while, her face turned pale. Perhaps it was because she was afraid of the murderer that she had never thought of taking revenge. "Based on what you said, it's very likely that the person who killed you was not alone. If this kind of construction requires overtime, it's impossible for one person to work. If they wanted to bring you here from the toilet, they would need someone to cover for them. Don't you want to take revenge? Host, be careful that you don't turn her into a vengeful spirit." The girl in the floral dress looked at Shi Shang and shook her head slowly with a pale face. She just wanted to leave this place. She was very afraid. Seeing her like this, Shi Shang didn't continue talking. He just held his forehead and said, "Let me think about it." Shi Shang wasn't in a hurry, so she walked around the pillar twice. Chapter 1489. "Miss, are you all right?" Shi Shang lowered her head in thought. Suddenly, a beautiful female voice sounded. She looked up and saw a pair of worried eyes. It was a beautiful girl, dressed casually and carrying a backpack. Although the girl's worried eyes were fixed on her, she glanced at the girl in the floral dress from time to time. She could see her too. "Are you not feeling well?" the girl asked again. She looked even more worried. "No." Sheshang's eyes fell on her neck. The weather was getting hot, so most people exposed their necks. This girl was no exception. There was a jade guanine hanging around her white neck. It was not difficult to see a jade guanine, but it was a bit rare for a girl to wear one. There was a saying that men wore guanine and women wore Buddha. And the jade guanine looked very familiar. The host had worn the jade guanine for so many years. She couldn't be mistaken. It was the host's jade guanine. When the host woke up in the village, she found that she only had one jade guanine. The villagers took care of her, so she gave it to them. Why was it on this girl now? The girl saw Sheshang staring at her jade guanine. She didn't hide it and said generously, "My family asked for it for me." Sheshang nodded and looked away. Maybe the villagers sold the jade guanine and then bought it back. Or maybe there was a jade guanine of the same style. The host's jade guanine was also asked for by her parents. "Are you really all right? Do you want me to help you to rest over there?" the girl continued. Sheshang glanced at the girl in the floral dress. The girl was standing very cautiously. She glanced at Sheshang and then at the girl. The girl's eyes never left the girl. Sheshang was sure that she could see her. This person looked a bit like Mother Mary. Sheshang simply turned and left. "I'm fine." Seeing Sheshang leave, the girl was slightly relieved. But the girl in the floral dress was anxious and wanted to chase after him. The girl immediately stopped her. "You can't hurt people." The girl in the floral dress was anxious. "I didn't hurt people." "If you didn't hurt people, why did you follow her? You died a long time ago. You should go where you belong. This is no longer your world." Although the girl spoke with confidence, if one looked closely, they would notice that her back was tense. She was still nervous. "I really didn't want to hurt her. It's her." Before the little girl in the floral dress could finish her sentence, she seemed to have sensed something and suddenly disappeared. The girl was shocked. She thought that the girl in the floral dress had gone to chase after Sheshang. She immediately turned to look in the direction where Sheshang had left. Sheshang happened to leave the hole. She seemed to see a very faint cloud of black gas following behind her, but when she looked carefully, there was nothing. By the time she wanted to look again, Sheshang had already disappeared into the crowd. Sheshang returned to the station in the middle of the night. He didn't see the girl from the day. Instead, he saw the little girl in the floral dress standing by the pillar, looking abandoned. "I'll help you get the corpse out now. After that, you can go and reincarnate." The little girl in the floral dress suddenly raised her head. Her face was paler than the first time Sheshang saw her. She looked around in a panic. "What are you doing? Did that girl scare you this afternoon?" The little girl in the floral dress shook her head. Her paleness faded a little, but she couldn't help but look around. Sheshang looked at her suspiciously and asked her to step back. She was going to split the pillar. "Split. Split it." The little girl in the floral dress seemed to be frightened. Someone is here. They can't see me." Sheshang took out his iron sword and pointed it at the pillar. "Where is your corpse?" The little girl in the floral dress drew an area. Sheshang avoided that area and split it a little higher. Boom! The pillar was originally designed to look good. It wasn't a load-bearing pillar, so it was fine to split it. However, the pillar suddenly collapsed. Many people in the station woke up and ran over to check. What's going on? Why did the pillar suddenly collapse? Was it an earthquake? I didn't feel it just now. Is the station going to collapse? What are you talking about? There's no earthquake. How can it collapse? Hey, look, there's something here. Among the exposed steel bars, they could faintly see rotten cloth and joints. Ah, it's a dead person. The people who came closer screamed and stumbled away from the pillar. Hearing that it was a dead person, the people at the scene panicked. Some people even called the police. The scene was very chaotic. When the police arrived, Shishang turned around and left the station. Sister. The little girl in the floral dress had already left the station. Her voice was very soft, and her body became more transparent. She was about to disappear. What's wrong? Is there anything else? Shishang stopped and waited for her. The little girl in the floral dress looked around nervously and trembled. Sister, there's something very scary following you. What? Something scary? Shishang looked around and didn't feel anything scary. I don't know what it is. It's not here now, but it gives me a very scary feeling. Sister, you have to be careful. I have to go. The soul of the little girl in the floral dress became more and more transparent. She waved at Shishang. Thank you, sister. Shishang watched the little girl in the floral dress disappear. He frowned and looked around. But face, is there something following me? Scan the energy field. No result. The system quickly gave an answer. Tell me if there's something near me. The little girl in the floral dress didn't seem to be lying. If she didn't feel it, then it was either too strong, or it wasn't coming for her. The little girl in the floral dress saw it and mistook it for her. The system wanted to refuse, but when it thought of the host's previous attitude of going on strike, it could only keep quiet. Shishang found the place where he used to live according to the memory of the host and pressed the doorbell. Who is it? It's the middle of the night. A slightly dissatisfied voice came from the walkie-talkie. The person on the other side seemed to have seen the person standing outside the door. Who are you looking for? Shishang frowned. Is this the Ji family? No. The person on the other side answered quickly and then hung up. Shishang looked up at the door number. It was the right door. The surroundings were the same as in the memory of the host. There was no problem. Did the Ji family move? Shishang didn't want to continue pressing the doorbell. He should find a place to stay first and ask about it tomorrow. The neighborhood was filled with villas. The people who lived here more or less knew each other. Even if they moved, they should know where to go. If there was no other way, he could go to the Ji family's company. Chapter 1490. The next day, when Shishang was having breakfast, she heard people discussing the news of a corpse hidden in a pillar at the station. Shishang had put an invisibility talisman on the pillar. In the eyes of these people, the pillar had exploded by itself. Therefore, everyone thought that the deceased was unwilling to let others know that she had died there. In short, there were all kinds of theories. This incident had become a hot topic recently. Shishang arrived at the villa from yesterday and happened to see the owner of the villa coming out. Hello. Shishang stopped the man. The other party was a middle-aged man, obviously a businessman. He looked at Shishang in confusion. What's the matter, young lady? I want to ask, where did the previous owner of this house move to? I don't know. The man shook his head. I bought this house from an agent. I don't even know who the owner is. Shishang frowned and thanked him politely. Shishang asked the middle-aged man for the name of the agent. She hacked into the database and found that the house was sold half a year ago. There was a contact number, but it was no longer in use. Shishang sighed. It seemed that she had to go to the company now. The original owner's phone was long gone. She never remembered the number when she called, so she didn't know anything now. I was being tricked. Shishang wasted the whole morning looking for a place to have lunch. The original owner's school was nearby. Shishang walked there and saw several familiar faces, but they didn't seem to know her. The more Shishang walked, the more she felt that something was wrong. Even if Ji Tong had been missing for a year, these people didn't have to treat her like air, right? She wasn't F***king dead. Ji Tong, when did you come back? Didn't you say that you would be gone for a few days? Shi Shang felt a pat on her shoulder. A familiar voice came from behind her. She slowly turned her head. The girl who patted her was embarrassed. "Ah, sorry, I got the wrong person. You look like my friend from the back." Shi Shang. WTF? Shi Shang searched her memory and found the name. Yen Gu. You know me? The girl was very surprised, but immediately said happily, "I didn't expect to be so famous." "What year are you?" Shi Shang's heart sank. She really didn't know her. Shi Shang said casually, "I'm here to look for someone. I just passed by and saw you on your school's forum." Yen Gu did not suspect anything. Her picture was indeed on the school forum. "Who are you looking for?" "Let me help you. Our school is very big. It won't be easy to find someone. Do you have a phone number?" Shi Shang smiled. "I'm looking for Ji Tong." She wanted to see what kind of thing this imposter was. Yen Gu was slightly surprised. "Ji Tong? She's on leave. She said she's going to the countryside to settle some matters. She'll be back in a few days." Yen Gu scratched his head. "Just now, I felt that your back view was quite similar to Ji Tong's. That's why I spoke to you. Other than the back image, is there anything else similar?" Shi Shang raised his eyebrows slightly. Yen Gu looked her up and down and shook her head. "No, it's just that your back looks very similar." "Ah, I'll give her a call." Yen Gu took out her phone and dialed, but soon frowned. "There's no signal. The signal in the countryside might not be very good. Why don't you give me your number? I'll tell her when she comes back." Shi Shang touched his chin and gave her a number. "I'll help you tell her." Yen Gu waved at Shi Shang. "I'll go first." Shi Shang watched as Yen Gu disappeared at the other end of the path. She stroked her chin as she walked back. This person was a friend of the original Shi Shang's, and they were quite close. If they weren't identical, she wouldn't have mistaken her for someone else. But she didn't recognize her at all. Shi Shang took out a mirror from his space. The person in the mirror was indeed the original owner. Shi Shang quickly checked her body to make sure there was nothing strange. Was there something wrong with the original owner's memory? She remembered everything, but she couldn't have forgotten what she looked like, right? If there was something wrong with the original owner's memory, then there was nothing she could do. Shi Shang left the school and stood under the sun looking at the people coming and going. There were more and more familiar faces, but they all looked at her as if she was a stranger. If the school was like this, then she knew that the Ji family must be in the same situation. Ji Tong was already here. Shi Shang began to think about the principles of life. Who am I? Where am I from? Where am I going? Shi Shang took out his new phone and opened the school forum. He tried the original owner's account and password and found that she could log in. This meant that there was nothing wrong with the original owner's memory. Her account name was Ji Tong, and it was filled with travel guides and travel notes. The click-through rate was quite high. The last update was from a year ago, which was before she went missing. Shi Shang looked through the post. Not long after she went missing, people left comments under the post, hoping that she was okay. These comments continued until half a year ago. The comments were then followed by congratulations and blessings for her safe return. It started half a year ago. Half a year ago, Shi Shang combed through the original owner's memory. Half a year ago, the original owner was still in the village. There was a period of time when the original owner seemed to be in a daze. The villagers said that she had caught a cold. It took her about 3 days to get better. Shi Shang looked at the first comment about Ji Tong's return. It was very likely that the original owner didn't catch a cold. Someone had used some kind of power on her. Shi Shang's eyes spun quickly. She found someone who drew sketches of passers-by on the street and asked her to draw one for herself. When Shi Shang received the sketch, she saw a very unfamiliar, but familiar face. Shi Shang tried several street sketches in a row. The faces they drew were all different from the ones she saw. This face wasn't hers. At least, when people saw it, they didn't see her face. Maybe it was because she was the original owner, so she could see her own face. Shishang took a photo with his phone and asked the other party to copy the sketch. The sketch was still the same face. So other than her, no matter what form it was, whether it was a mirror or a photo, other people would see a different face. Shishang looked down at the sketch in his hand. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Jade Guanyin. No wonder it was her. This face was the face of the ghost girl she met at the station. She was pretty, but not as good as the original owner. The original owner had never seen that girl before. Whether in the village or outside, she had never seen her before. So where did she come from? A living person couldn't have appeared out of nowhere, right? Shishang took the sketch and violently hacked into the country's citizen file. After writing a scanning program, he began to recognize the face. But the result was nothing. It was as if this person didn't exist. Interesting. The show hadn't even started, but it was already so interesting. Chapter 1491. Shishang went to the Ji family's company to take a look. After making sure that the Ji family's parents didn't recognize him, he didn't go back. Shishang added his profile into the database, then went to get a new identity card and went through the admission procedures. When he was done, Yen Gu called him and told him that the fake Ji Tong was back. Shishang followed Yen Ji's instructions and saw that girl in a cafe outside the school. There was another person sitting beside her. He was quite handsome, but his gaze was a bit cold. Especially when he looked at people, there was a sense of sharpness. Shishang met the man's gaze and walked over. His gaze fell on the fake Ji Tong. "It's you?" The fake Ji Tong was obviously surprised. "Little Gu said that someone was looking for me. I didn't expect it to be you." The man frowned and looked at Shishang. He interrupted the fake Ji Tong's chatter. "You're meeting a friend?" This woman exuded an aura that was hard to ignore from the moment she came in. It wasn't something an ordinary person could have. Although she had a smile on her face, it made people feel gloomy for no reason. It gave him a bad feeling. The fake Ji Tong smiled and explained, "Little Gu said that she was looking for me, so I asked her to come over. Brother Xie, please sit for a while. I'll talk to her. It's okay to delay for a while, right?" The man stared at Shishang for a while before nodding. "Well, let's talk over there." The fake Ji Tong pointed to the seat next to him. Shishang looked away from the man and sat down with her. "Hello, my name is Ji Tong. May I know why you're looking for me?" The fake Ji Tong wasn't as excited as before, but he still had a friendly smile on his face. Shishang looked at him and didn't say a word. It wasn't a big deal to be stared at for a few seconds, but to be stared at for more than 10 seconds was a little creepy. Just as the fake Ji Tong was feeling nervous, the girl opposite him spoke in a clear voice. "Are you really Ji Tong?" The fake Ji Tong was stunned, then nodded. "Yes, I'm Ji Tong." Shishang took out the sketch paper from his pocket and spread it in front of the fake Ji Tong. "Is this you?" The fake Ji Tong glanced at the plain face and nodded. "It's me." It seemed that this fake Ji Tong was also seeing herself. The two real bodies were not affected by each other. No matter what, she was seeing her original appearance. But in the eyes of others, their appearances had been swapped. Shishang put up another sketch. "Do you know this person?" The fake Ji Tong was puzzled. "Isn't this you?" Shishang saw that she did not seem to be lying. Was she also a victim? Shishang put away the sketch and got up to leave. He left just like that? The fake Ji Tong scratched his head and returned to the man's side. "Why is she looking for you?" The fake Ji Tong shook his head, his face full of doubt. "She didn't say anything. She just showed me 2 sketches. They were strange." "What sketch?" "It's a sketch of me and her." The fake Ji Tong looked around and lowered his voice. "I also met her at the station. At that time, she was standing with the Een spirit. I thought that the Een spirit was going to harm her, so I stopped the Een spirit and she left. After that, the Een spirit disappeared too. I couldn't find it. But when I came back, I saw the news. It was the case of the corpse hidden in the pillar at the station. She should have been helping the Een spirit. I suspect that she can see Een spirits like me. After listening to the fake Ji Tong's description, the man frowned even more. Stay away from her. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with her? The fake Ji Tong was puzzled. I don't know yet, but you can't go wrong with staying away from her. Other than that woman giving him a strange feeling, he did not find anything wrong with her. The fake Ji Tong nodded in confusion. Ji Tong, over here. The fake Ji Tong saw Yen Gu waving at her as soon as she entered the school. She quickly ran over. Yen Gu, have you eaten? Yen Gu held the fake Ji Tong's hand. Yes, I've eaten. Let me tell you, the girl you met just now is also called Ji Tong, and she's going to study in our school. She's also called Ji Tong. The fake Ji Tong raised his voice. What a coincidence. Yes, it's fate, isn't it? Yen Gu laughed. She seems to be in the same major as us. The fake Ji Tong felt a little strange, but he couldn't put his finger on it. He could only nod. That's quite fate. By the way, why is she looking for you? Nothing. We met at the station last time. Oh, you met at the station? That's really fate. Let's go. Class is about to start. The fake Ji Tong was even more confused. What did that girl want? When the fake Ji Tong and Yen Gu arrived at the classroom, the first thing they saw was Shi Shang, who was sitting at the very back. She was propping her chin up as she stared at the lectern. Her fingertips were tapping on the table intermittently, as if there was an invisible membrane separating her from the noise of the classroom. The fake Ji Tong instinctively looked in the direction she was looking at. The podium was eerie for some reason, and it gave people a very uncomfortable feeling. However, she didn't see any Een spirits. Hey, Ji Tong, it's her. Yen Gu dragged the fake Ji Tong over to Shi Shang. She felt an inexplicable closeness to this girl, as if they had met many times. The fake Ji Tong suddenly didn't want to go over, but Yen Gu was very fast. In the blink of an eye, she had already pulled the fake Ji Tong to sit in front of Shi Shang. Hi, we meet again. Yen Gu turned to greet Shi Shang. Shi Shang withdrew her gaze and nodded calmly. She lowered her chin and glanced at the fake Ji Tong from the corner of her eyes. The fake Ji Tong immediately felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. She instinctively wanted to stay away from her. What a coincidence. I didn't expect you to transfer to our school. You have the same name as our Ji Tong. Feel free to look for me if you have any trouble in the future. Yen Gu patted her chest. Shi Shang's lips curved upward. Thank you. Don't mention it. We're classmates now. The fake Ji Tong's expression changed slightly when she saw Yen Gu and Shi Shang chatting happily. Yen Gu might seem friendly, but she wasn't actually a friendly person. However, the fake Ji Tong could tell that she had a good impression of the girl who had the same name as her. How many times had they met? Perhaps it was because they shared the same name that Yen Gu had such a good impression of her. As the fake Ji Tong thought this, the strange feeling in her heart disappeared. Yen Gu chattered on and on with Shi Shang, telling her about some interesting things in school. The fake Ji Tong turned back to her book. She didn't make friends, but she couldn't be so selfish as to stop Yen Gu from making friends. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little Fairy. Friends. Let's vote. Cherub. Speak louder. I can't hear you. Little Fairy. Vote. Cherub. So fierce. I'm not voting. Little Fairy. You'll lose me. Cherub. It's not the first time anyway. Don't worry, you'll come back. Little Fairy. Chapter 1492. After the teacher arrived, Yen Gu stopped talking. The Shi Shang propped up her chin and stared at the podium. She looked like she had nothing to do. Before the teacher arrived, the podium was a bit eerie. The students who passed by would feel cold, but after the teacher came in, the podium was so cold that it felt like water could drip from it. The teacher was a middle-aged man. Different from the other teachers in the Mediterranean, this teacher was quite handsome. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, which added to his scholarly aura. However, there was nothing strange around the teacher. There was only a wave of Yin energy hovering around him. The Yin energy did not seem to be able to get close to the teacher. Strange, why is it so cold? Yengu touched her arm and leaned toward the fake Ji Tong. Ji Tong, is there something unclean in this classroom? The fake Ji Tong was also looking at the podium. Yengu saw that she did not reply, so she followed her gaze and whispered, Ji Tong, what are you looking at? She knew Ji Tong could see things that normal people could not. Oh my God, did Ji Tong really see something unclean? Yengu had experienced some supernatural events with the fake Ji Tong before, so even though she was still scared, she was better than normal people. It's okay. The fake Ji Tong comforted Yengu. She turned back to look. The girl behind her had fallen asleep on the table, half of her face exposed. The fake Ji Tong retracted her gaze and continued to stare at the podium. From the start to the end of the class, nothing strange happened. When the teacher left, the Yin energy floated away with him. Did you see something just now? Yengu grabbed the fake Ji Tong and asked. Something was wrong in the classroom. It was so cold, but it was gone after the class. It was strange. The fake Ji Tong frowned. But I couldn't tell what was wrong. It should be fine. Yengu had encountered supernatural events several times. She was more sensitive than normal people. The fake Ji Tong knew he could not hide it from her, so he told her about his discovery. The fake Ji Tong turned back to look. The seat was empty. When did she leave? How come I didn't see her? Yengu scratched her head in confusion. The fake Ji Tong seemed to remember something. Yengu, I have something to do. If I'm not back by the next class, help me answer the question. Ji Tong. The fake Ji Tong ran very fast. Before Yengu could finish, she had already run out of the classroom and disappeared around the corner. The fake Ji Tong chased for a long time before he saw Shi Sheng on a small path. She was standing under a tree, leaning against the trunk. She looked casual yet elegant. Not far away, the teacher was talking to a student. The student seemed to be asking him something, and he answered the student gently. Others might not be able to see it, but she could see that the Yin energy around her teacher was now able to approach him. It was as though the thing that was protecting him had disappeared. The fake Ji Tong ran in front of the Shi Sheng, and his gaze fell on her hand. It was a bracelet, and her slender fingers were fiddling with it. You. The fake Ji Tong looked at the teacher and then at the Shi Sheng. He realized the crux of the matter and his face darkened. You took away the teacher's amulet. You will kill the teacher. Shi Sheng glanced at her and smiled. I'm not the one who killed him. Student Ji, we can see things that others can't, so we should help these people. How can you help Yin spirits harm people? The fake Ji Tong looked anxious. Hurry up and return the bracelet to the teacher. Because... Shi Sheng grabbed the bracelet and squeezed it hard. He said maliciously, I think Yin spirits are sometimes cuter. The fake Ji Tong widened her eyes and looked at Shi Sheng in disbelief. Yin spirits harmed people, and he actually thought Yin spirits were cute? It's none of your business what I do. Shi Sheng threw the bracelet away and looked at the fake Ji Tong up and down. People who meddle in other people's business usually don't live long. Let's see if I can kill her tonight. If I can't, she'll most likely be the main character. The fake Ji Tong suddenly stepped back. Her face was pale. The look in her eyes just now was very scary, even scarier than the evil spirits she saw. Shi Sheng lifted his feet and left. The fake Ji Tong gasped for breath. She clutched her chest and watched Shi Sheng's back disappear into the shadows of the trees. What happened just now? The fake Ji Tong looked at the bracelet that she threw on the ground. He bent down and picked it up. He found that the bracelet, which was still very shiny just now, was now dull and colorless. This bracelet is useless. The fake Ji Tong glanced at the teacher. He had just separated from the student and was walking toward the office. There was a gloomy aura behind the teacher, and it seemed like a shadow was condensing. The fake Ji Tong held the bracelet tightly and followed the teacher at a distance. Shang wanted to see if she could kill the fake Ji Tong tonight, but she couldn't even find a ghost. Shang sensed the location of the Yin spirit that was following the teacher. He thought for a while and slowly walked in that direction. The school was very big. Shang walked around many buildings and finally saw an old building. It looked like it was no longer in use. There was a sign outside that said no entry. Shang went to the back and climbed in through the window. Just as she landed on the second floor, a cold gust of wind swept past her from behind. She quickly turned around. There was nothing behind her but the vast darkness of the night. That feeling was like an illusion. But face, what was that just now? Nothing. But face, are you broken? What's the use of keeping you? It's better to keep a dog than a useless system. You're the one who's broken. There was nothing in the first place. You're so suspicious. Shang surveyed her surroundings. Indeed, she didn't discover anything. She stroked her chin and walked towards the level where the Yin energy was denser. This place seemed to be a library. There were still many shelves with books that hadn't been moved away. They were covered in cobwebs and dust. There were all kinds of garbage bags on the ground. Some of them were still fresh. This place should have been a secret gathering place for many students. The Yin Qi came from a corner on the fourth floor. Before Shang got close, she heard someone talking. The teacher likes you a lot. You like the teacher too, right? It was the teacher's voice. There was a sharp scream in between. The scream didn't come from a human. It was sharp and thin. It was very scary. However, the teacher didn't seem to hear it. Woo-woo. There was the sound of struggling. The teacher comforted her softly. Don't worry. It won't hurt at all. I'll be very gentle. Woo-woo. The sound of struggling became louder and louder. There was the sound of clothes tearing. You've developed well. The teacher's voice was full of praise. Along with her voice, the scream became sharper. The teacher still didn't hear the scream. She continued, Let me touch you. I promise you'll get good grades at the end of the semester. How about it? Don't be shy. Look at me. Asterisk hashtag today, I'm begging for votes hashtag I'll cast a monthly vote. Hashtag it's the system's fault for not updating at midnight. It has nothing to do with me. If you check the website, you can see that the system updates every day at 0000. Chapter 1493. Shang was in a room near the corner. There was a faint light coming from inside. The door was very old and couldn't be closed completely. There was a crack in the door that allowed one to see the scene inside. A girl was tied up with a rope. Her limbs were spread out and pressed against the wall. The girl's private parts were exposed to the air. The teacher from before was kneading the girl's breasts with his hands. His expression was still elegant, as if he was doing something sacred. The girl's mouth was gagged. She was shaking her head and her eyes were filled with despair. However, the more desperate the girl was, the more excited the teacher became. This girl was the student who talked to the teacher alone today. Are all humans so disgusting? The system suddenly asked. Shang sneered, when humans are disgusting, they are definitely more disgusting than you can imagine. There were several Yin spirits behind the teacher, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. However, they still couldn't get close to the teacher. Shang frowned slightly. The bracelet had lost its effect. They should be able to get close to him. At this moment, the teacher suddenly stretched out his other hand. The bracelet was on that hand. Although it wasn't as shiny as before, it hadn't lost its luster completely. Help us. The Yin spirits seemed to have discovered Shang. They kept repeating these words in a shrill voice. Help us. We want to kill this bastard. Kill this bastard. Speaking normally. My ears hurt. The shrill voice disappeared. One of the Een spirits floated out. Help us. As long as you help us, we can give you all our power. Not interested. The spiritual energy in this world was very abundant. Why would she want the power of a few Een spirits? It wasn't good for a normal cultivator like her. Who returned the bracelet to him? The Een spirit's body twisted and its voice became slightly shrill. Ji Tong. It was Ji Tong. Meddlesome woman. Indeed, she was meddlesome. There were several Een spirits behind this man. They were all young and beautiful girls. It was obvious what he had done. If the fake Ji Tong hadn't returned the bracelet to him, this man would have been scared to death by these Een spirits. Good intentions turned into bad things. Please help us. Een Ling begged Shi Shang. She was the one who had taken away the bracelet, allowing them to get close to him. But now that the bracelet was back, they couldn't get close to him. We'll never forget your kindness. We'll even do anything for you in our next lives. The screams from inside the room suddenly grew louder. Shi Shang looked inside and saw the teacher holding a rusty steel pipe close to the girl's lower body. The pipe was still stained with old blood. The Shi Shang felt a little nauseous as he reached out and approached the Een spirit. Een spirit instinctively wanted to dodge, but Shi Shang looked up at her and said, "Come over if you want revenge." The Een spirit was a little afraid of her aura, but when she saw the situation inside, she gritted her teeth and approached the Shi Shang. Shi Shang placed his hand on the top of her head. That bracelet isn't very powerful. I'll give you a little power. You can destroy the bracelet, but at the same time, you'll be reduced to ashes. As soon as Shi Shang finished speaking, the Een spirit felt a gentle force entering his body from the top of his head, filling his entire body with strength. Shi Shang calmly withdrew his hand and raised his chin, indicating that it was done. Thank you. The Een spirit floated back inside and said something to the other Een spirits. Then, without hesitation, she rushed toward the bracelet in the teacher's hand. The bead's power had already been destroyed by Shi Shang, so it was very weak now. The Een spirit knocked into it a few times, and the moment she disappeared, the bead broke with a snap and fell from the teacher's hand. It smashed onto the ground with a loud crack before rolling in all directions. The teacher was shocked when the bracelet suddenly broke. The temperature in the room seemed to drop instantly. The lights nearby began to buzz. A few seconds later, the room was plunged into darkness. The screams echoed throughout the building. The teacher panicked and pounded on the door, but the door would not open. Help, help. Ghosts. Someone, help me. In the end, the teacher chose to jump off the building. But he was lucky. Someone had piled up a lot of old cardboard boxes below. He jumped down and only sprained his ankle. Shi Shang watched as the teacher limped and disappeared into the night under the pursuit of the Een spirits. She slowly turned around and opened the door. She put down the unconscious girl and covered her with some tattered clothes. Then, she called the police and left. The sirens echoed throughout the school. The sky was already bright. The students who had woken up early to train quickly gathered around. The fake Ji Tong and the man from before were also standing outside the cordon. The building was filled with Een energy. But that was all. There were no Een spirits. What happened? The fake Ji Tong asked the student next to him. It seems like a student is being abused inside. Someone called the police. The student came early and saw a girl being taken away in an ambulance. He also heard the words of the other students and pieced together the truth. Is it the work of Een spirits? The fake Ji Tong asked the man next to him. There are two forces, but one of them is very weak. It's about to disappear. The man stared at the building. I have to go in and take a look. I'll go with you. The man shook his head. You keep watch outside. Pay attention to the people around you. The fake Ji Tong looked around and nodded without insisting. The man blended into the crowd and soon disappeared. The fake Ji Tong observed the people around him while paying attention to the movements inside the building. The man soon came out and pulled her away. At the same time, he told the fake Ji Tong his conclusion. Other than the remnant force of the Yin spirit, there's also a strange force. It's very weak. It disappeared as soon as I went in. The Yin spirit should have run away. According to the police, there's a murderer. If the victim is fine, the Yin spirit must have run away with the murderer. We have to find the murderer. The fake Ji Tong nodded and said, "This aura is familiar. I told you today. I saw the same aura on my teacher, but it's much stronger than before. Will the Yin spirit harm my teacher?" You said the Yin spirit followed your teacher? The fake Ji Tong nodded. The man's face darkened. That's very likely. Go find your teacher. The fake Ji Tong and the man rushed toward the classroom and dormitory. However, they met Shi Shang and Yen Gu halfway. The two seemed to have just finished talking and were about to leave. Yen Gu turned around and saw the fake Ji Tong. She waved and walked toward her. The girl stood in the same spot and looked at the fake Ji Tong coldly. The corners of her mouth slowly curved. This is what happens when you meddle in other people's business. The fake Ji Tong was stunned. She quickly caught up with Shi Shang. What do you mean? Shi Shang raised his chin and looked in the direction of the police sirens. Do you want to know? Go ask yourself. You. How could this person be like this? Shi Shang glanced at Yen Gu and turned to leave. The fake Ji Tong wanted to chase after him, but the man pulled her back. Chapter 1494. The girl soon woke up in the hospital, but she was in shock and couldn't speak clearly. The doctors, nurses, and police took turns to comfort her. Only then did she manage to tell them what had happened. Yesterday, she went to the teacher to ask about her studies. Everyone liked this teacher. Not only was he handsome, but he also had a good temper. Everyone liked to look for him whenever they encountered any problems. The girl went to the teacher and he took a look at her. However, before she could finish, the teacher received a call. He had something to do, so he took the girl's phone number. At night, the teacher called her and asked her to come over. He said that he hadn't eaten yet, so he arranged to meet her on the way to the cafeteria. There was a small pine forest next to the road where the streetlights were being repaired. She waited for the teacher on the road. Unexpectedly, someone dragged her into the forest from behind. She smelled a strange smell. When she woke up, she was already tied up. After that, the teacher prepared to torture her. However, the lights suddenly went out. The teacher screamed for help like a madman. She fainted at that moment. When she woke up, she was in the hospital. The police never thought that a teacher would do such a beastly thing. They quickly went to arrest the teacher, but no one in the school had seen the teacher. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. The police investigated and found that it might not be the teacher's first time committing a crime. Such a crazy murderer naturally attracted the attention of the media. When the fake Ji Tong saw the news, she was shocked. She warned me not to meddle in other people's business. The fake Ji Tong held a glass of water and trembled. If he had succeeded, that senior would have died because of me. This has nothing to do with you. Sometimes, the human heart is scarier than Yin spirits. The man patted her shoulder comfortingly. But Yin spirits shouldn't live in this world. They should go to their own world. Your task is very important. I might not be suitable for this job. When you have this ability, it means that you can. The fake Ji Tong looked at the man with red eyes. Can I really do it? You're doing very well now. The man nodded. There was a faint smile in his sharp eyes. The teacher was found 3 days later. He was in the artificial lake in the school. When he was fished out, many people were disgusted. There was not a single part of his body that was intact. It was as if he had been tortured. The way he died was tragic. However, the police couldn't find out how he died. Rumors began to circulate in the school that the teacher had died in such a strange manner because he was the one who had killed the victims. However, the police were particular about evidence. They couldn't possibly report that this person was killed by a ghost, right? If they dared to report like that, they wouldn't need to wear their uniforms anymore. In the end, the case became an unsolved case. Who killed the teacher was going to become one of the top 10 unsolved mysteries in the school. The rumors in the school died down after a while. The fake Ji Tong took a few days off before returning to class. When she bumped into Shi Shang in the classroom, her expression was a little awkward. She hesitated for a while before entering the classroom without saying anything. Shi Shang had been looking for an opportunity to kill the fake Ji Tong. Perhaps if she died, the strange connection between them would disappear. However, the fake Ji Tong hadn't appeared recently. She was also in despair. After class, the fake Ji Tong blocked the Shi Shang. She looked around and saw that no one was looking. She lowered her voice and said, "Miss Ji, I was wrong about what happened before. But if a person has committed a crime, he or she should be punished by the law. You shouldn't be the one condoning the Yin spirits to commit crimes. That's still better than you allowing humans to commit crimes. I didn't know that the teacher was that kind of person." The fake Ji Tong's face paled. The teacher was so perfect. Who would associate him with a murderer or a rapist? Even now, some people still found it hard to believe. How could such a refined teacher be the kind of scumbag that was reported on the news? Now you know. Are you surprised? Shi Shang looked at her with a half smile. Shi Shang put his hands in his pockets and stepped on the table as he walked past the fake Ji Tong. His posture was suave. "You knew. Why didn't you tell me?" The fake Ji Tong bit her lip. She knew it at that time, but she didn't say anything. If she had said it at that time, then what happened later might not have happened. Shi Shang jumped off the table and turned to look at the fake Ji Tong. His eyes were cold, but there was a faint smile on his lips. "Your words are interesting. First, why should I tell you who you are? Second, I warned you to mind your own business, but you didn't listen. Now you're blaming me for not telling you. How shameless are you? Why are you targeting me? From when we were at the bus station to when you came looking for me after that, why are you targeting me? Is it just because my name is Ji Tong?" She could feel that the fake Ji Tong didn't like her, and the way she looked at her was very strange. Shi Shang glanced at her. "You're not Ji Tong at all." The fake Ji Tong's eyes widened. "If I'm not Ji Tong, then what am I?" Was this woman crazy? Who knows? Shi Shang spread his hands. "I'm the real Ji Tong. Do you see my face? This is how you look when others see you. If you don't believe me, you can find someone to sketch you and see if the sketch is the same as what you see." Shi Shang walked away arrogantly, leaving the fake Ji Tong standing there alone. She had looked for her at that time and showed her the sketch. The fake Ji Tong didn't believe it, but Shi Shang's words kept echoing in her ears. Coupled with her strange behavior, the fake Ji Tong finally decided to find someone to sketch her. "Xiao Tong, someone is looking for you outside." The girl in the same dormitory nudged Shi Shang, who was addicted to games. "The person looking for you is the campus belle. She's beautiful and has a good family background. She even has the same name as you. How amazing!" The original owner's appearance was definitely top-notch. It was no problem for her to be crowned as the campus belle. Shi Shang finished playing the last game and got up. He walked to the window of the dormitory and looked down. The fake Ji Tong paced back and forth anxiously. There were many boys looking around. Some of them wanted to talk to her, but they didn't dare to. The scene was very spectacular. Shi Shang raised his eyebrows. It seemed like she had gone to get someone to sketch her. "Xiao Tong, the campus belle doesn't look right. Why is she looking for you?" The girl and Shi Shang stood by the window and looked down. They couldn't help but ask curiously when they saw the fake Ji Tong. Shi Shang supported his chin with his hand and looked like an otherworldly expert. "Maybe she likes my beauty." "Don't be so smug." The girl laughed. "You can't be more beautiful than the campus belle." Shi Shang smiled but didn't say anything. The fake Ji-tong had the original owner's appearance. Hurry up and go down. If you continue to dawdle, the boys opposite will probably kill you. The girl pushed Shishang. Shishang went downstairs with his phone. As soon as she went out, the fake Ji-tong looked over as if he could sense her. Chapter 1495. The fake Ji-tong couldn't say it in front of so many students, so she went to a more secluded area of the school with Shishang. The closer they went to a secluded area, the more nervous the fake Ji-tong felt. She felt that the person behind her was up to no good. The fake Ji-tong looked around. Although she could still see people, they probably couldn't hear their conversation. She stopped and turned around to face Shishang. The girl behind her had her hands in her pockets casually. Her expression was full of confidence. She was handsome no matter how one looked at her. The fake Ji-tong's eyes met with Shishang's for a moment, then she quickly looked away. She spread out the sketches in her hands in front of Shishang. Why? Why are they drawing you? What did you do to me? Shishang glanced at the sketches and smiled. I didn't do anything to you. You did something to me. The fake Ji-tong looked at Shishang in confusion. What do you mean? She had never seen her before. How could she have done anything to her? Shishang said calmly, I went missing for a year. When I came back, you took over my place. Didn't you do something to me? I didn't. I don't know what's going on. Who was she? Who was she? What was going on? I'm Ji-tong. Who are you? Her memory was complete. She grew up in H City. She had parents who loved her and close friends. Believe it or not. Shishang looked into the distance. There wasn't anyone around. Why not try it? Host, please calm down. Shishang didn't listen to the system at all. He took out a few talismans and threw them into the air. The talismans immediately spread out and stuck to the surrounding tree trunks. They surrounded them in a circle. The sound from the outside world became softer and softer until it disappeared completely. What do you want? The fake Ji-tong's expression changed. She was sure that she had done something to her. Shishang took out his sword and walked toward the fake Ji-tong calmly. Don't come over. This is a school. Don't mess around. The fake Ji-tong took out her phone and shouted at Shishang. Why do you want to harm me? How did I offend you? If you want to die, at least let me know. However, Shishang did not answer her. He quickly rushed to her, grabbed her hand and pulled it up. The fake Ji-tong was in pain. His phone fell to the ground, and the screen hit a rock. With a crack, a spider web covered the screen. The fake Ji-tong was flung against a tree trunk by Shishang. Her hands were around her neck, and the fake Ji-tong found it difficult to breathe. The person standing in front of her was not a girl, but a demon. A devil with a smile on his face. The harder Shishang tried, the greater the resistance until she couldn't exert any more force. She was indeed the female lead. God damn it. Kill her. Shishang raised her sword, but before she could swing it down, the talisman stuck on the tree suddenly burst into flames. The invisible barrier quickly disappeared, and the sound of the outside world came in again. A large group of people was running towards them. Now, she had two choices. The first was to kill the female lead in front of these people. The second was to put away her sword. The first choice was not safe. She might not be able to defeat the female lead's cheat. So, Shishang wisely put away her sword and let go of the fake Ji-tong. The fake Ji-tong's legs were weak. She could barely support herself against the tree trunk. She looked at Shishang in horror. Her hands were on the tree trunk behind her, and she swallowed with difficulty. The group of students quickly ran past them and didn't stop. The fake Ji-tong saw the man coming towards them. Without a word, she rushed out from the other side of the tree trunk and went straight to the man. Shishang did not chase after her. He stood under the tree and watched the fake Ji-tong meet up with the man. The man looked over, and the sharpness in his eyes seemed to solidify. This should be the male lead. He came at the right time. Sher Shang looked away and looked at the talisman that had been burned to ashes. He silently pointed his middle finger at the sky. Biased. Trash. The fake Ji Tong did not come to class for a few days again. However, she had been taking leave frequently for the past 6 months, and no one thought much of it. Sher Shang was either in a daze or sleeping in class. Yen Gu talked to her a few times, and Sher Shang would occasionally respond. Perhaps because she was not as enthusiastic, she did not purposely talk to Sher Shang anymore. Sher Shang returned to the dormitory after class. The girl in the dormitory said to her excitedly, "Xiao Tong, we're having a social gathering with the school next door. You should come too." Sher Shang threw herself on the bed. "No. You've been playing games all day. You're going crazy. Let's go together. It's rare." The girl said mysteriously, "I heard that the school next door has a temple. If you make a wish there, it will definitely come true. Usually, outsiders are not allowed to go there. This social gathering is a good opportunity to go in and take a look." Sher Shang opened her phone. "No. Xiao Tong, let's go. Let's go." The girl grabbed Sher Shang's arm and shook it. Sher Shang tapped the login button a few times, but she could not find the login button. The corner of her mouth twitched. Okay. Let go of me first." When the girl heard Sher Shang's agreement, she let go of her arm. "Then it's settled. I'll call you when the time comes." Sher Shang rolled her eyes. The girl did not mind. She smiled and returned to her bed. She took out her phone and called someone to go to the social gathering with her. Temple? There was a temple in the school? Bull ****. Sher Shang did not take this matter to heart. He hoped that the girl would forget about him. However, the girl had a good memory. On the day of the social gathering, she dragged her all the way to the school next door as if she was afraid that she would run away. As soon as Sher Shang entered the school, she felt that the spiritual energy inside was much stronger than outside. Sher Shang walked in and observed the layout of the school. Sher Shang asked the girl beside her, "Is this school very old?" Xiao Tong, you don't know?" The girl was surprised. "Then," she said, "this school has 100 years of history. It's one of the top universities in the country. Although it's just next door, the admission threshold is much higher than ours. This school has produced many important people." Sher Shang looked at the spiritual energy that was constantly surging around. With such rich spiritual energy, it was normal for the school to produce important people. People in this world had more or less spiritual energy in their bodies. The more spiritual energy a person had, the more outstanding their performance in different aspects. The social gathering was held on the field. Because both schools agreed to it, the social gathering was held on a larger scale. The field was full of people, and the lights were bright. It was very lively. Sher Shang let the girl have fun by herself. She took the opportunity to walk around the school alone. This place was very strange. The spiritual energy in the surroundings kept gathering here. However, she did not know how it was done. There was no fluctuation of a formation. It was as if the spiritual energy liked this place and gathered here by itself. Sher Shang knew that in metaphysics, one could make use of the geographical location and some external conditions to form a special feng shui pattern. However, he did not know if this school was... Sher Shang looked up at the sky. The spiritual energy that was originally floating in the sky was now rushing in one direction. Chapter 1496. Sher Shang didn't expect the school to have a temple hidden in the cherry blossom forest. It wasn't exactly a temple. It was more like a combination of a pagoda and a temple. It was surrounded by lush greenery, obscuring the temple from view. Sher Shang only felt that it was strange and eerie, let alone sacred. The surging spirit qi had all entered the temple. There was something here. Sher Shang stood there for a while and prepared to leave. No matter what was inside, it had nothing to do with her. Mind your own business and you will live longer. She returned to the sports field and sat down to play games while eating melon seeds. She ignored most of the people who came up to her. She didn't say anything. The guys said a few words and then left. But there were also some who didn't know what was good for them, such as this handsome guy who claimed to be popular with thousands of boys and girls. Handsome guy like you? I won't dare to use the word handsome guy in the future. Shi Shang was annoyed by him. There are many girls over there. Go play over there. Don't bother me. Hey, you play this game too? I play it too. Let's play a round. I'm one of the top 10 in the whole server. Not only did the guy not leave, but he also tried to get closer to Shi Shang. He even reached out his hand and was about to put it on Shi Shang's shoulder. Shi Shang slammed his phone on the table and kicked the guy's stool. The stool was made of plastic and couldn't withstand Shi Shang's kick. The guy was kicked to the ground and fell flat on his back. The noise was so loud that people around them looked over. The guy was a little stunned by the fall. After a while, he got up and pointed at Shi Shang and yelled, "Why did you hit me if you don't want to talk to me?" Shi Shang stepped on the stool and said angrily, "If you talk to me again, I'll beat you up." The guy seemed to be scared. His face turned pale when he saw people looking at him. "I won't lower myself to the same level as a woman." He quickly walked to a dimly lit area. Everyone laughed and let the matter go. But no one came up to Shi Shang again. While Shi Shang was having fun, a cold aura suddenly appeared beside him. Shi Shang frowned and turned to look. Shi Shang's eyes lit up. He didn't even need to look for her. She had delivered herself to him. The man seemed to have sensed Shi Shang's gaze and turned his head to look at him. The light from the side shone on the side of his face, gilding it with a layer of dim yellow halo. He looked very handsome. The other half of his face was hidden in the darkness. His eyes were cold as he stared at Shi Shang quietly. However, Shi Shang felt that he was not looking at him. His eyes were completely unfocused. Shi Shang found that his face was a little pale, and there was a cold air around him. If there was no light, many people would think that he was a ghost. However, there was still a trace of life in him. He was a living person. After a while, the boy retracted his gaze and stared at the wine glass on the table. His gaze was unfocused again. Shi Shang moved closer to him and said, "Little brother, I can see that your glabella is turning black. You need a girlfriend to cure it." The boy turned his head to look at him again. His gaze was still unfocused. Although he was serious, it felt as if he was ignoring him. He stared at Shi Shang for a while, then slowly took out his phone from his trouser pocket. He typed on the text message interface and showed it to Shi Shang. "I refuse any form of pickup." Shi Shang was speechless. Can't he speak? WTF? The boy put his phone back into his trouser pocket and continued to stare at the wine glass on the table. There was half a glass of red wine in the glass. Under the surrounding light, it looked a little like blood. Suddenly, a fair hand pushed the wine glass in front of him. A pleasant voice sounded in his ear. "Drink if you want." The boy reached out and held the glass. His hand was very good-looking with well-defined joints. The only flaw was that it looked like a dead person's hand. It was so pale that it was bloodless. He held the glass for a long time without moving. Finally, he let go of the glass and stood up to leave. Shi Shang was speechless. Sorry, she didn't understand this kind of sign language. Please speak human language. Shi Shang was about to stand up when the sky suddenly darkened. In the distance, a strong aura of resentment rose into the sky and shrouded the school in an instant. The voices suddenly disappeared. Only a few people were left on the field with her. The surroundings were a mess. Half-finished wine, messy tables, and littered the ground. The sky was strangely red, as if it had been stained with blood. Shi Shang was speechless. "I didn't do anything. I just wanted to pursue my wife. Why did I start a quest? Reject the quest. Reject the quest. What's going on? Where are the others? What's wrong with the sky? Why did it suddenly turn red? Hey, do you feel cold? It's so strange. F***, what are they doing? Stop hiding and come out. I know you're here. Is there a camera? Do you want to see us make a fool of ourselves? Like Shi Shang, the students who were unilaterally sent into the quest were also confused. This strange environment made them a little scared. After a few calls and no one responded, they picked up their phones and hugged each other. Shi Shang stood with one hand on his waist. He sighed as he watched the people on the other side struggle. Psi X1, Psi X2, Psi X3 inch Miss G. Yen Gu walked out from the group. You're here too? I didn't see you just now. I thought you didn't come to this kind of social gathering. Yen Gu looked relatively calm. After all, he was someone who had been through some small storms. I came to accompany my roommates, Shi Shang replied. Yen Gu was stunned. I see. Are you okay? Shi Shang shook his head. I'm fine. When the people on the other side saw Yen Gu talking to Shi Shang, the temperature seemed to have dropped. They instinctively moved closer to Yen Gu. Soon, a group of people surrounded Shi Shang and began to talk. What's going on? There are so many people. How can they just disappear? And, the school is so quiet. I can't hear anything. I saw that the teaching building over there was still light, but now it's pitch black. I don't think it's right. We might have run into a ghost. Yen Gu didn't want to scare them, but she could only explain this scene as a ghost. Ghost? Yen Gu, don't scare me. I'm a timid person. I'm scared of ghosts. A girl next to Yen Gu immediately shuddered and leaned against the person next to her. That's right. There's no ghost in the school. Don't scare us. We've never heard of any ghosts in our school. Don't be afraid. Yen Gu didn't know how to explain it to them. Look at the sky and the signal on your phone. It's all because of the ghost. I'm not scaring you. We really did run into a ghost. Everyone. They had already felt eerie earlier. Now, they felt even more eerie. Fortunately, there were many people around, so they felt a sense of security. No one screamed. Someone said weakly, maybe it's a prank. Chapter 1497. Even if it's a prank, the sky shouldn't be like this. We're outdoors, not indoors. It was impossible for the sky to become like this in the blink of an eye. As soon as he said that, a few timid girls screamed. Their screams pierced through the night and spread into the distance. Shi Shang was getting a headache from the screams. Can you stop them? Are they trying to attract the ghosts and make them their snacks? Stop screaming. Keep it down. Yen Gu hurriedly calmed them down. Senior, cover them up. The boys were braver than the girls. Besides, no ghosts had appeared yet. Although they were scared, they didn't lose their composure like the girls. The boys quickly calmed the girls down. What's that? The girl who had just been calmed down suddenly pointed to the other side of the field. A few shadows were floating towards them. The shadows were moving so fast. They couldn't be human. The group looked at each other for a moment. Ah! The screams rang out again. This time, not only the girls, but the boys were also frightened. They all ran towards the school building in a panic. Hey, come back. Don't get lost. Come back. Yen Gu saw everyone running away and shouted for them to come back. But no one listened to her. In the end, only Shi Shang and Yen Gu were left on the field. Yen Gu saw the shadows approaching and ignored them. She dragged Shi Shang and ran in the same direction as them. However, she stumbled and was pulled back by Shi Shang. They're coming. Let's run. Yen Gu turned around, her face pale. As long as we don't provoke them, we should be fine. Shi Shang looked at her and pointed in the opposite direction of the school building. Go that way. But they were all going that way. There was strength in numbers. Shi Shang let go of her. If you follow them, you'll die. The school was now full of resentment. The abundant spiritual energy from before had completely disappeared. Those trapped in the pocket dimension were all food for that thing. You can see ghosts too? Yen Ge's voice trembled. She looked at the shadows out of the corner of her eye and found that they didn't come over. Instead, they ran towards the school building. Yes. Shi Shang lifted her foot to leave. Yen Gu gritted her teeth and followed after Shi Shang. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. Other than the sound of their footsteps, nothing else could be heard. Yen Gu was a little scared and leaned closer to Shi Shang. Your name is the same as Ji Tong's, and you can also see ghosts. What's your relationship with Ji Tong? It doesn't matter. This Bao Bao doesn't want to have anything to do with the female lead Darren, it's so scary. But, the first time I saw you, you were looking for Ji Tong. So what? Yen Gu was speechless for a moment. Seeing that the surroundings were getting weirder and weirder, she stopped talking and followed Shi Shang fearfully. She realized that the girl beside her was completely different from Ji Tong. Even though Ji Tong could see ghosts and fight with them, she was still afraid and would inadvertently reveal an expression of fear. However, the girl beside him, even in such an environment, exuded confidence. It was as if she didn't take this matter to heart at all. She was so calm that she didn't seem human. However, walking beside her, he felt a sense of security for no reason. Shi Shang was heading in the direction of the temple, where all the resentment was coming from. However, after walking for a while, Shi Shang realized that something was wrong. This path didn't lead to the temple. If its real body was at the temple, it wouldn't let them pass so easily. The teaching hut is in front. Yen Gu pointed at the black buildings in front of them. They looked like monsters standing in the darkness. From time to time, screams could be heard from the teaching hut. It seemed that there were many people trapped in this pocket dimension. It was very powerful to be able to trap so many people at once. Shi Shang closed his eyes and sensed the surroundings carefully. Hold on to my clothes. Don't blame me if you get lost. Yen Gu quickly reached out and grabbed Shi Shang's clothes. Shi Shang walked forward with his eyes closed. The path might change, but some things wouldn't. Shi Shang's eyes were closed, so he couldn't see what was in front of them. However, Yen Gu could see that Shi Shang was leading her straight to the teaching hut. He wasn't going up, but rather, he was going to walk through the hut. In front. We're going to bump into something. Yen Gu had to say something when she saw that Shi Shang had no intention of stopping. However, Shi Shang had no intention of stopping. Her body came into contact with the wall of the teaching hut. She didn't bump into it as she had expected. Instead, she walked through it. Yen Ge's eyes widened. She walked through it as well. She didn't feel anything strange. It was as if she was walking on empty ground. With this experience, Yen Gu didn't make too much of a fuss. She followed Shi Shang wherever she went. They passed through quite a few obstacles and finally stopped outside a forest. There were sounds coming from the forest. It seemed that someone was fighting with the resentment spirit. After passing through the forest, their vision widened. In front of the temple, the fake Ji Tong was lying unconscious on the ground. The male protagonist was fighting with a ball of black fog. Ji Tong. Yen Gu saw the fake Ji Tong lying on the ground. She instinctively let go of Shi Shang and ran toward the fake Ji Tong. Shi Shang didn't stop her. He just watched the male protagonist fight with the black fog. The black fog was very strong. The male protagonist had a hard time dealing with it. He had already seen Shi Shang coming in from the corner of his eyes. However, she just looked on coldly. She didn't seem to want to make a move. Shi Shang glanced at the temple behind them. This temple was supposed to be used to suppress the evil spirit. However, some students came here to make a wish, which awakened the evil spirit. The evil spirit relied on the students' power to grow stronger until it broke through the thing that was suppressing it. Tsk tisk. If they hadn't met the male and female protagonists, this thing would probably be a disaster. Shi Shang walked around them and walked into the temple. The black fog sensed Shi Shang's movement. It suddenly gave up on the male protagonist and went straight for Shi Shang. The black fog twisted into various shapes and blocked her path. Yo, it seems like there's something you're nervous about. Shi Shang stood in front of the black fog calmly. If you don't want me to stop you, let me out. Otherwise, I'll go in and destroy it. The black fog seemed to be weighing something. It twisted and changed into several shapes. It could sense that the person in front of it was very dangerous. A red arrow appeared in the air and extended into the darkness. That direction was right outside the school gate. Good luck. Shi Shang walked in the direction of the arrow. She wasn't interested in this thing at all. The black fog seemed to be shocked. It quickly retreated far away. Take Ji Tong and follow her, the man shouted at Yen Gu. Yen Gu watched as Shi Shang left with the arrow without looking back. The arrows gradually disappeared after she walked past them. She couldn't tell what she was feeling. #hashtag today, I'm asking for catalpa tree flavored tickets #hashtag it's the weekend. Cuties, #hashtag vote in your hands, #today, I can give a shameless gift of 5/20/13/14. So, I'm shamelessly asking for a gift to comfort my abused soul. Chapter 1498. Yen Gu did not manage to catch up with Shi Shang. After the arrows disappeared, there was no way she could catch up with her. Moreover, the black fog had caught up with her and was about to swallow her whole. Yen Gu was so scared that she could not move. She could only watch helplessly as the black fog rushed towards her. She screamed and closed her eyes. She thought that it would be painful, but there was nothing. She closed her eyes tightly and only opened them after a while. She carefully looked outside and saw that the black fog was far away from her. It was roaring angrily at her. She seemed to see a face hidden in the black fog. It was ferocious and withered. What was going on? Her chest felt warm. With trembling hands, she pulled out a pendant from her neck. No, this pendant was given to her by Shi Shang. It was on the morning when the police came to the school. She met her and gave her this pendant. Did this pendant block the black fog's attack for her? Shi Shang followed the direction of the arrow and quickly walked out of the school's main entrance. Standing outside the school, the scene inside was still lively. It was completely different from the gloomy scene. These people didn't even know that quite a few people had gone missing. You do have some skills. Shi Shang rubbed her chin. Suddenly, she seemed to have sensed something. She turned around abruptly and saw a blurry shadow standing in the distance. When she looked over, the shadow disappeared with the wind. Was this the thing that was following her? Damn it, there were always idiots who wanted to harm her. Shi Shang returned to the field. She looked around but did not see the young man from before. Xiao Tong, what are you looking for? Her roommate jumped over and hooked her neck. Where did you go just now? I couldn't find you for a long time. The toilet. Have you seen a boy with a pale face? The girl was suspicious. Are you looking for a patient? You should go to the hospital to find a patient. Are you okay? As the girl spoke, she touched Shi Shang's forehead. Shi Shang pushed her away. No, he looks very healthy. It's just that his face is pale. He looks healthy, but his face is pale? The girl showed a horrified expression. Xiao Tong, did you encounter a ghost? Shi Shang was speechless. The person who had encountered a ghost was still struggling. I'm just teasing you. What clothes are you wearing? Make your features more obvious. I'll help you ask if anyone has seen it before. Don't worry, if you like it, I'll find it for you even if I have to turn the world upside down. Ha ha ha. The corners of Shi Shang's mouth twitched as he briefly described the young man's attire. The girl quickly turned around and grabbed a few seniors to interrogate. The seniors were also very helpful and quickly filtered out a suspicious person. He's Tsun Che, a third-year student. Here's his photo, but it's only his side profile. His face is really pale. Even though it's only his side profile, he's still quite handsome. You have good taste. The girl raised her phone in front of Shi Shang. The photo was a little blurry, probably taken secretly. The boy was walking down the stairs with his eyes lowered, looking very serious. Although she could only see the side of the man's face, Shi Shang could still recognize him as the man she had seen tonight. But the senior said that Sen Che wasn't in school today, but there's only one person who fits your description. Is it him? Thank you. Shi Shang patted her head and secretly stuffed a talisman into her cap behind her back. I'm going back first. If there's nothing else, you should leave early too. Don't be alone. The girl was surprised. You're going back already? It's not over yet? Shi Shang chuckled. I found what I wanted. F***ck, forget your friends when you see a girl, the girl scolded. Scram, scram. Shi Shang went back to school first. Just now, the girl was called G-Man. Because Shi Shang and G had the same pronunciation, after Shi Shang moved in, the girl was very enthusiastic and said that they were fated to be together. G-Man had a wide social circle and was familiar with everyone. However, her other roommate didn't like her and didn't have a good relationship with G-Man, so G-Man and Shi Shang were very close. Shi Shang was the kind of person who didn't talk to her, so she didn't have a good relationship with her other two roommates. Shi Shang went back and found that the door was locked. She knocked, and after a while, someone opened the door reluctantly. It's really so late. Why did you come back so late? You're outside. When the person who opened the door saw that it was Shi Shang, she swallowed the rest of her words and turned to walk to her bed. Ji Tong, don't hang out with G-Man. Be careful not to be led astray, the girl on the other bed with a face mask said sarcastically. Shi Shang didn't say anything, and the girl didn't continue either. They didn't have much conflict with Shi Shang. When G-Man had a conflict with them, she had always been a bystander and didn't help anyone. To be honest, they were still a little afraid of Shi Shang. He was too cold and inhuman. Shi Shang closed the door and looked in the direction of the girl who opened the door for her. Her name was Yang Wan, and she was complaining on the phone. On her shoulder, there was a baby with bruises all over his body. It was only the size of a palm, but it had a nose and eyes. It was a miniature baby. She had never seen this baby before today. Shi Shang closed the door, washed up, and went back to bed to play games. Yang Wan was still on the phone, and the baby was lying on her shoulder, making all kinds of strange expressions. But when it found that Yang Wan didn't respond, it was a little disappointed. Maybe it noticed that Shi Shang was looking at it. The baby looked up at Shi Shang and tilted its head to look at her. Then it climbed down from Yang Wan's shoulder and slowly crawled to Shi Shang's bed, wanting to get on the bed. I'll kill you if you dare to come up. What did you say? Yang Wan suddenly looked up. Shi Shang turned the phone to let Yang Wan see the screen of her phone. Yang Wan saw that she was playing games, so she lowered her head and continued to talk to the other side. The baby didn't listen to Shi Shang at all, and was trying its best to climb onto her bed. Shi Shang pretended to beat it and released a little Reiki. The baby was scared and immediately jumped back to Yang Wan's shoulder, glaring at Shi Shang fiercely. Yang Wan felt a lot colder when the baby went back, so she rubbed her arms. Shi Shang sneered, lowered his head and continued to play the game. That night, G-Man came back very late. Yang Wan and another girl couldn't help but educate G-Man again. It was so noisy that it didn't quiet down until the middle of the night. Shi Shang watched the baby crawling around on Yang Wan's bed, not knowing what it wanted to do. Finally, it locked onto G-Man's bed. Shi Shang got up and stuck a talisman under G-Man's bed. The baby suddenly screamed sharply, seeming to be very angry. Shi Shang gave the baby the middle finger. Host, can't you play something more high-end? What's wrong with bullying a baby? Shi Shang complained in his heart. Like tonight's high-end game? I'm crazy. How much time do you waste every time you play with that thing? Host, goodbye. The baby angrily jumped around on the bed. Yang Wan seemed to feel cold, so she wrapped the quilt tightly around herself. Shi Shang looked at the baby and happily returned to the bed. The baby was scratching the wall, glaring at her with a very resentful look, as if it wanted to eat her alive. Shi Shang covered his head with the quilt and let the baby make a fuss. Chapter 1499. The next morning, Shi Shang heard Yang Wanwan and Zhang Jia discussing. Zhang Jia was the other girl. Last night, some people went missing from the social gathering. They were found in several places, all unconscious. I heard that someone died. Shi Shang looked at Yang Wanwan's shoulder. The baby was gone, but Yang Wanwan didn't seem to have anything wrong with her expression. Zhang Jia didn't look too good. After all, someone died. She asked, "Who died?" "I think so. Wait, let me ask." Yang Wanwan typed quickly, "Yen Gu, the one who always walked with Beauty Ji." "How did she die?" "I don't know. The police have blocked the news. It's good enough that I can find out so much." Shi Shang rubbed his eyebrows and stood up from the bed. He looked through the window and into the distance. Yen Gu had the amulet she gave her. If she didn't take it off, the thing yesterday wouldn't have hurt her. She couldn't blame anyone. If she guessed correctly, Yen Gu should have died in the original plot. This was a turning point for the female lead to grow up. But face, am I right? Hee hee. Hee hee, your grandpa. If I guessed correctly, I guessed correctly. Can you deny the fact that I guessed correctly? Hee hee. Why don't you try laughing again? Hee hee. Hit me, humph. But face is so obedient. Host, your grandpa. Yen Ji's death caused a heated discussion in the school. Although it didn't happen in their school, it still made people feel strange. How did she die at the social gathering? Then what about the unconscious students? There were rumors that after the unconscious students woke up, they all shouted that there was a ghost. If it was only one person, it wouldn't be a big deal, but everyone was like this. This was thought-provoking. The school tried to refute the rumors, but it didn't work. Instead, it spread more and more. Shi Shang saw the fake Ji Tong again on the 5th day after Yen Ji's death. She looked a little absent-minded. The male lead was beside her, talking to her with his head slightly lowered. Then the fake Ji Tong threw herself into the male lead's arms and cried. Yen Gu died just like that. Ji-man sighed. I have no idea what happened that night. Shi Shang's lips tugged into a smile. You don't want to know what happened. Xiao Tong, you know about it? Ji-man tilted her head to look at her. She was wearing contact lenses that reflected a faint purple light. It was actually a bit bewitching. Shi Shang was non-committal. Be careful of Yang Wanwan these days. She's raising a little ghost. Ji-man blinked. Xiao Tong, can you repeat what you said just now? She could understand them if they were disassembled, but why couldn't she understand a single word when they were put together? Shi Shang glanced at her, and Ji-man's expression immediately changed. There's really a ghost? Still in our dormitory? F*CK, that little bitch Yang Wanwan is actually raising a ghost in the dormitory. I'm actually eating and living with a ghost? Shi Shang. Girl, you're focusing on the wrong thing. No, I have to find Yang Wanwan. How can a beautiful girl like me live and eat with a ghost? F*CK. Ji-man turned around and ran away. Not long after, she ran back. Xiao Tong, what kind of special ability does the little ghost have? Should I go and find a Taoist priest? What's there to pray for? Shi Shang took out a bracelet from his pocket and gave it to her. Wear it and no ghost can hurt you. But if you take it off, you'll be dead, just like Yen Gu. Ji-man, who was looking at the bracelet excitedly, heard Shi Shang's last sentence and her expression changed slightly. She quickly put the bracelet on her wrist. Yen Gu and she didn't interact much. Ji-man didn't have any other emotions other than feeling sorry for Yen Gu. Xiao Tong, you're the legendary ghost-catching Taoist priest, right? Oh my god, I actually met such a strange person. Do you want to teach me a few tricks? No, I heard that there are a lot of rules in your line of work. You can't just teach people casually. Shi Shang. What ghost-catching Taoist priest? Was there a ghost-catching Taoist priest as beautiful as her? I'm going to find Yang Wan to settle the score. G-Man covered her hand and walked away valiantly. G-Man's guts were quite big. This is called the ignorant are fearless. If she really saw a ghost, wouldn't she be scared witless? Shi Shang responded to the system with a cold sneer. Host, what do you mean? Shi Shang continued to sneer. Damn it, you're crazy. The system was so angry that it went offline. On the other side, the fake Ji Tong had already separated from the male lead and was walking towards her in a daze. Her originally unfocused gaze suddenly stopped when she saw Shi Shang. She stared blankly at him. There were too many people around them. Shi Shang suppressed the urge to make a move. The fake Ji Tong looked at her silently. No one knew what she was thinking. Shi Shang walked past her. Her voice suddenly sounded, "You were there at that time too?" Shi Shang ignored her and continued to walk forward. The fake Ji Tong turned around and shouted at her back, "You could have saved her. Why did you watch her die? Why?" Her voice was very loud. The students around them couldn't help but look sideways. Some were even discussing in low voices. Some were sympathetic, some were cold, and some were numb as they looked at Shi Shang and the fake Ji Tong. Shi Shang turned around, her gaze indifferent as she looked at the fake Ji Tong. Her sadness wasn't an act. The fake Ji Tong cried silently. She walked closer to Shi Shang step by step, murmuring, "Why? Why didn't you save her? She wouldn't have died if you had saved her. She was still so young. She still had so many unfulfilled wishes. How could she die just like that?" When the fake Ji Tong approached, Shi Shang suddenly reached out and pulled the pendant off her neck. The fake Ji Tong was shocked. She reached out to snatch it back. "This belongs to Yen Gu. What are you doing? Give it back to me." Shi Shang blocked the fake Ji Tong with a cold smile. "If she hadn't given this pendant to you, she wouldn't have died. She chose this herself. Are you blaming me?" The fake Ji Tong froze. Her gaze fell on the emerald pendant in Shi Shang's hand. When she woke up, the pendant was around her neck. Yen Gu was lying beside her, covered in blood. "Do you think you can come out unscathed with your ability?" The pendant in Shi Shang's hand swayed. It reflected a green glow under the sunlight. "What right do you have to question me?" "No." The fake Ji Tong shook her head. "It wasn't like that." She slowly stepped back. She was the one who didn't save her. Shi Shang put the pendant away. It was hers to begin with. How could she let the female lead take advantage of it? "You're lying!" the fake Ji Tong shouted. She turned and ran into the school. She targeted her for no reason. She even let others see her in her appearance. She wasn't a good person at all. She was the one who killed Yen Gu. It was her. No, she was the one who killed Yen Gu. It had nothing to do with anyone else. The fake Ji Tong didn't run far before she fainted. The surrounding students hurriedly sent her to the infirmary. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.